Chapter 41. When Duanmu K heard Yu Xian's words, he suddenly walked towards her. Yu Xian kept retreating until she reached the foot of the wall. Duanmu K pressed his right hand on Yu Xian's shoulder and pressed her against the wall. Duanmu K said fiercely, "Yu Xian, if you deliberately set up my wife, then don't blame me for being rude to you." Then he let go of Yu Xian. "Leave. I don't want to see you right now." Yu Xian looked sadly at Duanmu K, then at me. Clutching her shoulder, she walked out of the room. Hearing her close the door, Duanmu K walked to my side and held my hand. His expression was solemn. I understood that Duanmu K was worried that I had been wronged. I rubbed his head and smiled. "Hubby, smile." "I can't smile." He lowered his head. His voice was full of sadness. "Don't be sad. I'm fine, aren't I? It's obvious that she pushed you. She hurt you once, so she'll hurt you a second time, and a third time." "No way. You already lost your temper with her. How could she still do that?" Although I didn't believe it myself. Duanmu K's eyes blurred as he looked out the window. "I hope so." I stayed in the hospital for 2 days. With the doctor's permission, I was discharged and went home. After that incident, I wasn't allowed to do anything at home. Later, I got Duanmu Tachio's permission. As long as it wasn't during his office hours, I could go in and out of his study to read. That way I could kill time by reading. I hadn't seen Yu Xian for a week. Later, I heard from Xiao Fangya that Yu Xian had asked Duanmu Tachio to go on a business trip. It just so happened that Duanmu Tachio had a project that required him to go abroad for inspection, so he sent her out. It would probably take half a month for her to return. I thought that since she wasn't home, I could relax a little. That night, when Duanmu K came home from work, we sat down to eat dinner. Because of the pregnancy reaction, my anorexia was getting worse. I sat next to Duanmu K and absent-mindedly picked at the rice in my bowl with my chopsticks. Looking at the table full of dishes, I had no appetite. Xiao Fengya saw that I had no appetite. "Xiao Li, what's wrong? Is today's food not to your taste?" I shook my head and said, "Mom, no. The food today was pretty good. I just couldn't eat it." "Your pregnancy reaction is too obvious. What do you want to eat? I'll arrange for someone to cook it." Xiao Fengya sighed. Duanmu K put down his chopsticks and said to Duanmu Tachio and Xiao Fengya, "Dad, Mom, look at Xiao Li's situation. She can't eat a lot of the food we eat. She can only watch. I want to find someone who specializes in cooking for Xiao Li. What do you think?" I pulled Duanmu K's sleeve and said in a low voice, "Don't mess around. I'm fine. It's good to eat together like this." Xiao Fengya shook her head. "Why do you need to find someone else? The person you're looking for isn't familiar with Xiao Li, and they don't know what she likes to eat. Just leave it to me." Duanmu K turned to look at me. I nodded at him. He said to Xiao Fengya, "Okay. Mom, thank you for your hard work." I said in a low voice, "Mom, there's no need to go through so much trouble. I'm fine with anything. You don't have to make anything for me." Xiao Fengya smiled and said, "Silly child, what's the big deal? You're fine. Your father and I both think so." I lowered my head in embarrassment. Just like that, from the second day onwards, Xiao Fengya would make a special nutritious meal for me for every meal. At the beginning, my appetite wasn't very strong, but as time passed, I gradually could eat a little more. Xiao Fengya was very happy to see my appetite increase. That night, just as I finished eating dinner and was about to go upstairs, I saw Yu Xian walk in with her luggage. When she saw me, she froze for a moment. She looked at me and didn't say a word. She took her luggage and went back to her bedroom. It seemed she had returned from her business trip. I would have to face her again in the future. The next morning, everyone sat at the table to eat. As usual, Xiao Fengya brought my breakfast to me. Looking at the breakfast, I smiled at Xiao Fengya and said, "Thank you, Mom. My reaction isn't as strong now. There's no need to go through so much trouble. It's a good thing you have to wake up early every day to make nutritious meals for me. Xiao Fengya sat across from me and said, "Silly child, what are you talking about?" I helplessly looked at Duanmu Ke and gave him a look. He seemed to understand and said to Xiao Fengya, "Mom, I don't think there's any need to go through so much trouble. Let's take a break. If we work so hard, I'm afraid my dad will beat me." When Duanmu Tachio heard this, he gave me a look of disdain. Xiao Fengya smiled and said, Okay, but we still have to finish today's meal. Today's ingredients just happened to be delivered." I nodded and glanced at Yu Xian opposite me. She had been eating with her head lowered the entire time. After eating breakfast, Duanmu Tachio and Duanmu Ke went to work. Yu Xian went back to her room to get used to the time difference. After eating, I wanted to help clean up, but I was kicked out of the kitchen by Xiao Fengya. Helpless, I could only go to Duanmu Tachio's study. Xiao Fengya was in the kitchen preparing today's lunch. The morning sun shone through the glass window into the study room, making it warm. I don't know if I was tired, but I actually fell asleep on the sofa. When I woke up again, the nanny was already knocking on the door to ask me to go out for dinner. It seems that I slept for a long time, directly sleeping from morning to noon. I went to the dining room. Xiao Fengya had prepared a sumptuous lunch. Although it was only me, Xiao Fengya, and Yu Xian eating, there was still a lot of food prepared. After Xiao Fengya and I sat down, she called the nanny over. "Go upstairs and call Yu Xian down to eat." The nanny nodded and went upstairs. After a while, Yu Xian came to the table with a confused expression. Xiao Fengya looked at her and asked, "What's wrong? Are you still not awake?" Yu Xian rubbed her eyes and shook her head. "No, I'm awake." "Okay, let's eat." Then she looked at me and said, "Xiaoli, eat more. I made this especially for you." She picked up some cabbage and put it in my bowl. "Thank you, Mom." I glanced at Yu Xian. She was still eating with her head down. It seemed she didn't want to talk to me, so I didn't take the initiative to talk to her. About halfway through the meal, I vaguely felt a pain in my stomach. At first, I didn't pay much attention to it, but it became more and more painful. My forehead began to sweat. I put down my chopsticks and clutched my stomach. At this time, Xiao Fengya saw that I wasn't in a good state, so she quickly asked, "Xiaoli, what's wrong?" I clutched my stomach and raised my head with difficulty. Mom, hurry and take me to the hospital." Chapter 42. Gradually, my consciousness became blurry, and my limbs felt weak. I didn't know who was carrying me and running. Then, I got into the car. I didn't know how long it had been bumpy. Then, I smelled the hospital's disinfectant, and I lost consciousness. When I woke up, I was lying on the hospital bed. There were many people standing around me. Duanmu Ke was standing next to me, his eyes red. Duanmu Tachio and Xiao Fengya were standing there, too. My parents were there, too. Yu Xian was standing in the corner. Although I was awake, I couldn't move my body. Duanmu Ke saw that I was awake. He pulled my hand and called the doctor to check on me. The doctor gave me a simple checkup and checked the case. Then, he called Duanmu Ke and the others to the side and whispered something. Then, he left. Duanmu Ke sat next to me with a sad face. I raised my hand and touched his face. I asked softly, "What's wrong?" Duanmu Ke didn't answer me. Instead, he turned his back and covered his face. It seemed he was crying. I was even more puzzled. Could it be that I had a miscarriage because of the severe abdominal pain? I pulled his shirt and asked, "What's wrong? Where's the baby? Is the baby still here?" Duanmu Ke didn't answer. Instead, he twitched even harder. I let go of his shirt and lay there. I felt as if my world had collapsed. My tears couldn't stop. My baby is gone. My baby is gone. Why is it like this? Why? I asked myself again and again in my heart. Duanmu Ke turned around and continued to cover his face. He sobbed and said, Waifu, I'm sorry. Waifu, our baby. What's wrong with the baby? I was even more agitated. I pulled his arm and asked. He's fine. He suddenly moved his hand away from his face and smiled mischievously. I stood there dumbfounded, while Duanmu K was laughing so hard that he was about to fall to the ground. What did you say? I thought I might be dreaming, so I confirmed it with him again. Duanmu K hugged me and said, I said, our baby is fine. Nothing happened to him at all. After hearing Duanmu K's answer, I knew that he was playing with me. He wanted me to think that something bad had happened to the baby. I was so angry that I pinched him and pushed him away. He grimaced and covered the spot where I had pinched him. He looked at me with an aggrieved face. Although I knew the truth, I still couldn't stop my tears from flowing down. I hugged my legs tightly and sat on the hospital bed, crying bitterly. Duanmu K saw that the joke had gone too far. He walked over and hugged me. He gently stroked my hair and said, Waifu, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have played such a joke on you. I'm sorry. It's all my fault. Don't cry. I hugged Duanmu K and hammered his chest as hard as I could. I cried even harder. After a while, my emotions calmed down. Duanmu Tachio said to the two servants at the door, Bring in the cook and the nanny. The two of them left the hospital room. Not long after, they brought in the cook and the nanny. Duanmu Tachio sat on the sofa and gestured for my father and mother to sit as well. After sitting down, Duanmu Tachio asked me with a serious face, Shaoli, tell us what happened. I nodded and told him everything that happened during lunch. After listening to my description, Duanmu Tachio turned to Xiao Fengya and asked, Did you prepare today's lunch? Xiao Fengya wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes and said, I prepared it. Was there a problem with the ingredients, condiments, and seasonings? No, they were all normal dishes. I ate all of them, but nothing happened to me. Seeing Duanmu Tachio question Xiao Fengya, I secretly pulled Duanmu K over and asked, What's going on? Why is Dad questioning Mom? Duanmu K moved closer to my ear and said, You don't know yet, right? You accidentally ate saffron. Luckily, you didn't eat much. If you didn't have stomach cramps and rushed to the hospital in time, the baby would have died. Hearing Duanmu K's words, I broke out in a cold sweat. Heavens, how could I be so careless as to eat saffron? Was someone trying to frame me? Duanmu Lixiong continued, I don't care who did this, I hope you can come out and admit to it. Don't let me find out. If that happens, things will get serious. Hearing Duanmu Lixiong's words, no one dared to speak. Duanmu Tachio motioned for Xiao Fengya to stand to the side. He pointed at Uxian and asked, Uxian, what were you doing between breakfast and lunch? Uxian said, After breakfast, I went back to my room to sleep. I slept until the nanny came upstairs to call me for lunch. Duanmu Tachio looked at the nanny. Were you the one who called her for lunch? The nanny replied, Yes, master. I also called her young madam. Duanmu Tachio continued, During that time, did you see anyone other than the young madam, you, and the chef enter or leave the kitchen? The nanny shook her head. No, definitely not. When the chef was cooking, he told me that he didn't have enough white sugar, so I went out to buy some. I don't know what happened during that time. At that moment, the door to the room was pushed open. A nurse came in and handed a report to Duanmu Quebec. Then she left. Duanmu K looked at the report, then handed it to Duanmu Tachio. Duanmu Tachio took the report and looked at the chef. It seems that you and the nanny are the biggest suspects. The report the nurse just sent says that the entire table of lunch, except for the rice, contains crocus. I think you should give me an explanation. The nanny and the chef were scared silly. The chef said, Master, there's no reason for me to harm the young madam. I've been with the Duanmu family for so long. There's no way I would harm anyone. If I wanted to harm the young madam, why didn't I do it from the beginning? The nanny also said, Master, I've always been by the young madam's side. There's no chance for me to harm the young madam. The young madam has always been good to us. There's no reason for us to harm her. After listening to the chef and the nanny, I was 100% sure that they weren't the culprits. I glanced at Yu Xin, who was standing in the corner. The corners of her mouth lifted. I immediately understood. Other than her, no one would harm me. However, I didn't have any evidence to prove that she was the culprit. Still, I couldn't wrongly accuse an innocent person. I forced myself to sit up and said, "Dad, wait a moment." Duanmu K helped me up and used a pillow to steady me. I said, "Dad, let's just let it go. I believe that no one did it. Just treat it as if it was for me and the baby. Don't investigate further." Chapter 43. Duanmu Tachio didn't answer, but Duanmu K wasn't happy. He looked at me and said, "We can't just let this go. This matter must be investigated to the end." Duanmu K gave me a look. I knew that he had already guessed that Yu Xian was behind this, and wanted to borrow Duanmu Tachio's hand to drag her out. At this time, Duanmu Tachio nodded. My father also said, "Lier, I think what Xiao K said makes sense. This matter needs to be investigated. Since she started framing you when you were pregnant, when you were born, wouldn't it have gotten worse?" I shook my head and looked at Duanmu Tachio. "Dad, just promise me. I think that if the baby knows, he won't want to pursue this matter." Duanmu Tachio thought for a moment and said, "Okay, I promise Shaoli today. This matter will be over. But if something like this happens again, don't blame me for being hostile." Then, he left with Xiao Fengya. Mother and father also stood up. Mother looked at the housekeeper and the cook and said, "You guys can go back. It's fine now." Then, she left the room with the cook and the housekeeper. Only Yu Xian, Duanmu K, and I were left. Yu Xian looked at us and walked towards the door without saying a word. At this time, Duanmu K called out to her, "Wait a moment." Yu Xian stopped and turned around to look at Duanmu Quebec. "I hope this is the last time." Duanmu K looked at her and said resolutely. Yu Xian was stunned for a moment. Then, she sneered and ran out of the door without looking back, leaving me and Duanmu K alone. Duanmu K sat next to me and stroked my hair thoughtfully. He didn't say a word. Looking at his face, I felt that there was something on his mind. Seeing that he didn't say anything, I reached out and grabbed his hand. "What's wrong?" "That expression." Duanmu K thought for a moment and said, "Wife, let's move out. I have a villa in the suburbs. Let's move there. That way, we won't have to worry about anyone harming us." "But Mom and Dad won't agree. Plus, your work is too far away, and you have to take care of me. Every day, you'll be very tired. When my belly gets bigger, I won't be able to cook for you." I told him my thoughts. Nothing is more important than you and the baby. It doesn't matter if I'm a bit tired. I'll talk to Mom and Dad. As for cooking, I can slowly learn. Is that okay, wife? Duanmu K looked at me with expectant eyes. Seeing that he was so considerate of me, I couldn't think of any reason to refuse him. "Okay, I'll listen to you. When I'm discharged, we'll talk to Mom and Dad." Duanmu K nodded and hugged me. We stayed in the hospital for almost 2 weeks before the doctor allowed us to leave. Although it was safe to stay in the hospital, it wasn't as comfortable as staying at home. On the day we were discharged, Duanmu K finished the discharge procedures early and took me home. The whole family greeted us at the door. After taking me to the living room, Duanmu K invited Duanmu Tachio and Xiao Fengya to the study. After the 4 of us sat down, Duanmu K closed the door to the study. "Dad, Mom, Shaoli and I have something to talk to you about." Duanmu K closed the door and sat down. "What is it?" Duanmu Tachio looked at him. Duanmu K looked at me and then said to Duanmu Tachio, "Dad, Shaoli and I have decided to move to the villa in the suburbs until Shaoli gives birth." Duanmu Tachio and Xiao Fengya were stunned. They looked at each other. Then Xiao Fengya asked, K, why do you suddenly want to move out?" "It's happened several times already. I think it's too dangerous to stay in this house. It's not that I don't trust you and Dad, I just don't trust other people. Son, you're thinking too much. Mom already paid a lot of attention this time. All the ingredients were bought by me, and all the dishes were made by me. This kind of thing definitely won't happen again. Hearing Xiao Fengya's words, I felt very uncomfortable in my heart. Mom, that's not what we meant. I also trust that you'll take good care of Xiao Li. So many things have happened in our house, and I'm scared. Besides, after we move out, you and Dad can come here often. Duanmu Ke still insisted. I pulled Duanmu Ke's sleeve and whispered, let's forget about it. If we really move out, Mom and Dad won't feel good. Duanmu Ke looked at me and said, it's okay. Mom and Dad will understand. I saw that Xiao Fengya's eyes were glistening with tears. She was trying hard not to let them fall. At this time, Duanmu Tachio said, okay, that's a good idea. How about this? You move out 2 days later. I'll send someone to tidy up the house first. Then, I'll see if you need anything. Dad. Xiao Fengya was about to open her mouth, but Duanmu Tachio stopped her. She had no choice but to secretly wipe the tears from the corners of her eyes. Thank you, Dad. We'll stay for 2 more days. We'll move out on the weekend. Hearing Duanmu Ke's words, Xiao Fengya cried even harder. I walked over to her and gently comforted her, wiping away her tears. When the discussion was almost over, Duanmu Ke and Mom and Dad were still talking about other things. I found an excuse and left the study because I had something very important to do. I had to find Yu Xian and talk to her. I sent a message to Yu Xian, telling her that I was waiting for her by the flower pond. I walked to the flower pond. Although I hadn't taken care of it for a long time, the roses in the pond were still blooming beautifully. It seemed that someone had taken care of them for me while I wasn't here. I sat on the rattan chair and smelled the sweet fragrance. My mood calmed down. At this time, I saw a figure slowly walk toward me. I couldn't be more familiar. It was Yu Xian. She walked in front of me and looked at me. Then, she sat on the edge of the flower pond opposite me. She looked at the flowers in the pond, her eyes blurred. Why did you call me here? She asked. I thought for a moment and said, Yu Xian, I won't beat around the bush with you. Can you let go of my child? I think you're mistaken. Your child is fine in your belly. Yu Xian turned to look at me and then at the flower pond. Do you dare to swear that everything that happened to me had nothing to do with you? Yu Xian's denial was within my expectations. I just didn't expect her to say it so matter-of-factly. Yu Xian turned her head and sneered. She looked at me and said, so what if I did it? I calmed down and said to her, I don't care what you did to me in the past. Fortunately, my child is still growing healthily. I just hope that from now on, you won't hurt us anymore. Chapter 44. Yu Xian stood up and walked in front of me. She held my face and said, You're too polite. You have such a beautiful face, but your IQ is obviously not as good as your looks. Don't you understand? You're an extra in this family. Not only are you an extra, but the child in your belly is an extra as well. When you weren't here, this family was very warm. But after you came, everyone was on your side. They almost forgot about my existence. I shook off Yu Xian's hand and said, You think too highly of yourself. If it weren't for the things you did, would Duanmu Ke have started to hate you? Shut up. Yu Xian shouted at me. Your appearance completely confused Duanmu Gij. If it weren't for you, he would have fulfilled the promise he made to me when we were young. He would have married me. You didn't just confuse him, you also messed up my life. You're really hopeless. It seems that when Dad wanted to investigate, I should have supported him instead of standing up to stop him. Yu Xian sneered and said, You think he'll find out if you let him? Why wouldn't he find out? I'm not afraid to tell you the truth. Indeed, I was the one who pushed you down at the hospital. Of course, I didn't push you. I pushed someone else. That person bumped into you and directly knocked you to the ground. The timing was so coincidental. Just at that time, a car drove over, but I didn't expect you to be so lucky. Listening to Yu Xian's recount of the events of that day, although I had already guessed that she was the one who did it, I was still shocked. Yu Xian continued, "As for the incident where you accidentally ate the saffron, I can only say that I think the heavens were helping me that day. When I walked into the living room from upstairs, I saw Xiao Fangya asleep on the sofa, so I pretended to look for fruit and walked into the kitchen. At that time, the nanny wasn't there. She said that day that I found out that she went out to buy seasonings. The chef was the only one left in the kitchen. He was busy cooking, and all the dishes were placed on the table. This was a golden opportunity. Do you think I would miss it? Aren't you afraid that I'll sue you for murder?" I looked at Yu Xian and asked. Yu Xian walked in front of me and pressed me against the rattan chair. "Sue me? You can't do it. You're too soft-hearted. I noticed it not long after you came here. It's because of your weakness that I have a chance to play with you. Aren't you afraid that Duanmu K will find out your true colors?" If Yu Xian had a weakness, it would be her love for Duanmu Quebec. Yu Xian froze for a moment, then let go of me. She sat across from me and said, "I did everything for him. No matter how bad he treats me, I still love him. Even if he confronts me, I will let him understand my thoughts." Hearing Yu Xian's words, I couldn't help but sneer. "Yu Xian, you're too naive. Do you really think that Duanmu K will believe your words?" Yu Xian stood up and looked at me. "You'll know sooner or later that I'm right." After saying that, Yu Xian turned around and walked towards the living room. I sat on the rattan chair and thought about what Yu Xian had said. I suddenly felt that she was very pitiful. She truly loved someone, and for that person, she lost her good nature and became a cold-blooded animal. Fortunately, we'll be leaving in a few days. We won't have to worry about her trying to harm us. I stayed for a while, then returned to my room. Just as I was about to go upstairs, I saw the nanny carrying a box of beer, carefully climbing the stairs. I walked towards her and asked, "What's this?" When the nanny saw me, she put the box down. She wiped the sweat from her forehead and said, "Young mistress, this is the beer Yu Xian wanted. She asked me to bring it to her." I looked at her suspiciously. "Why does she want beer?" "You haven't been home for a few days, so you don't know. She's been like this for several days. She gets drunk every day. Sometimes, she doesn't eat when we call her to eat. Madam and master don't know what to do with her, so they just let her be. That's not right. I'll go with you." Then, I followed the nanny to Yu Xian's room. The nanny knocked on the door, put down the box of beer, and left. When I entered the room, the smell of alcohol hit my face. I subconsciously covered my nose and moved towards the door. I glanced at Yu Xian's room. Although it wasn't very big, it was very clean. There was nothing in the room except for a single bed, a wardrobe with 3 doors, and a simple desk. Yu Xian was sitting on the floor, leaning against the window. She was holding a bottle of beer in one hand and covering her head with the other, looking at the scenery outside the window. Seeing that she didn't respond, I knocked on the door. She looked up, saw me, and turned her head away. I leaned against the doorpost and crossed my arms in front of my chest. I looked at her and asked, "What's the point of ruining yourself?" Yu Xian didn't turn her head. She coldly replied, "That's my business. It has nothing to do with you. I don't want to care about you, and I know you don't want me to care about you either. You want Duanmu K to care about you, so you can act pitiful in front of him. Do you think it's useful? Are you done talking? This is my room. Please leave." Yu Xian looked at me impatiently and glared at me. "I don't want to stay here either. I hope you can do what I told you in the garden. The biggest difference between you and me is our understanding of love. Love isn't hate, but mutual giving and dependence." At this moment, Yu Xian stood up and walked towards me with an empty bottle of beer in her hand. She stopped in front of me. I didn't dodge, and she didn't move. At this moment, Duanmu K's voice came from behind us. "What are you doing?" I turned around and saw Douanmu Quebec. Uxin also saw Douanmu Quebec. Her sharp eyes instantly became very gentle. Douanmu K walked towards us. He stopped in front of me and looked at the bottle of beer in Uxin's hand. Then he looked at me and said, "Wifey, why are you here? This place reeks of alcohol. You can't stay here. Go back first. I want to talk to her." I shook my head, indicating that I didn't want him to talk to Uxin alone. Douanmu K patted my shoulder and gave me a meaningful look. "Be good. Go back in and have a good rest. You haven't rested since you came back from the hospital. I don't know where you went to play. I'll talk to her for a while. Don't worry, you can't eavesdrop outside the door. If I find out, I'll punish you." I understood that he had come prepared. It seemed like he had something to talk to Uxin about. I glanced at Uxin, then turned around and walked towards the bedroom door. When I reached the bedroom, I turned around and saw that Uxin's door was closed. Chapter 45. I anxiously waited in my room for Douanmu K to come back. I was worried that he would hurt Uxin, but I was also worried that he would be bewitched by Uxin. Perhaps it was just like Uxin said, my heart was too soft. No matter how much Uxin tried to frame me, I still had to think about how to resolve the conflict between us. I sat in front of my desk, casually flipping through a book, but I wasn't paying attention. I was thinking about what Uxin and Douanmu K were talking about in that room. At this time, the door was pushed open, and Douanmu K walked in. He looked at me with a helpless expression, then threw himself onto the bed and covered his head with a pillow. I walked over and lay down next to him, leaning my head on his shoulder. Douanmu K took the opportunity to pull me into his arms without saying a word. "What's wrong?" I asked, gently patting his back. "Shaoli, I suddenly feel like there's nothing I can do for you." He hugged me tightly. "You're thinking too much. You've already done enough for me." I cupped his face. "What did Uxin say to you to make you like this?" Uxin keeps saying that she likes me, that she loves me, but I feel like her love is too selfish. Actually, I know how she feels about you. Seeing her stubbornness without any results, sometimes I feel that she's very pitiful." I gently patted his back. "After you left, I told her that if she were to hurt you again, I wouldn't let her go. But when I was about to leave, she hugged me from behind. I broke free from her grip and asked her to control her emotions. But I didn't expect her to push me to the ground and press me under her body. She kissed my lips without restraint and even began to take off her clothes. When I saw her like that, I felt extremely disgusted, so I pushed her away and slapped her." Douanmu K covered his head. "You slapped her?" Sure enough, what I was worried about happened. Douanmu K looked at me and nodded. "And then, you just came out." After I slapped her, she sat on the ground in shock. Then she stood up and took off all her clothes in front of me. I didn't look at her. I just told her to have some self-respect and was about to come out. But I didn't expect her to stop me. "What did she say to you?" Douanmu K sighed again. "She said that even if I didn't have feelings for her, she would still love me. She would also remove all the people around me who would endanger her feelings for me, including you." I stroked his hair. "That's what I expected," I said. "I don't know if she said she was angry or not. But I warned her that if she kept bothering us, I would kick her out and she wouldn't even take half a step into our house." It seemed Douanmu K didn't know what to do with her. To put it bluntly, Uxin cared about him too much. That was why she had done so many wrong things. Although he and I both knew that Uxin had done it, we didn't have any evidence. Douanmu K hugged me. All right. I don't want to think about it anymore. You don't want to think about it either. I'm tired. Lie down with me for a while." Then he hugged me. I leaned against his chest and listened to his heartbeat. Gradually, I closed my eyes. When I woke up again, it was already night time. I looked at the time. It was time for dinner. I woke Douanmu K up. After tidying up, we went downstairs. Xiao Fengya had already prepared a table full of dishes. After we sat down, Duanmu Ke glanced at the dishes on the table. Then, he looked at Yu Xian and Xiao Fengya. Xiao Fengya seemed to understand something. Don't worry. I bought the food and cooked it myself. What's wrong? You don't even trust your mother? No. Duanmu Ke made a face at Xiao Fengya. Then, he sat next to me and filled my plate with food. I felt very embarrassed. While we were eating, Duanmu Ke suddenly remembered something. He turned to Duanmu Tachio and asked, Father, have you arranged things for us at the villa? It's already been arranged. Your Uncle Zhang sent people over. When they went in to take a look, there were quite a few things missing in the villa. Including purchasing and simple decorating, it would take about a week, Duanmu Lixiong said. Duanmu Ke thought for a moment and said, Father, can you speed things up? I glanced at Yu Xian. Although she was eating with her head lowered, I could feel that her expression was becoming more and more unnatural. It seemed she knew that we were going to move out. At this time, Xiao Fengya said, Why are you in such a hurry? Do you have to leave? Can't you stay? I think your mother is right. If it's just the two of you, food and shelter will be a problem. If you can't do it, you can stay here. I've made up my mind. If you don't want to tell me, I'll tell Uncle Zhang to hurry up. Duanmu Ke put down his bowl and chopsticks. His expression was very serious. Xiao Fengya also put down her chopsticks. If you can't do it, why don't you ask Xiao Li's mother to come and live with us? That way, you can rest assured and we can both take care of Xiao Li. What do you think? Mother, don't worry about it. This has nothing to do with you. I was the one who insisted on moving out with Xiao Li. Xiao Li objected, but she agreed in the end. So, you should agree too. Yu Xian said, Why do you have to move out? It's better to stay at home. Duanmu Ke glared at Yu Xian and said impatiently, I don't think it's up to you to control what I do. Duanmu Ke, what kind of attitude is this? Is this how you treat your mother and Yu Xian? Duanmu Tachio lost his temper and fiercely slammed his chopsticks on the table. Seeing that Duanmu Tachio was angry, I pulled Duanmu Ke's arm and asked him to stop talking. Duanmu Ke moved my hand away and said to Duanmu Tachio, Father, I don't want to talk about it. No matter what, I've already made up my mind. I'll contact Uncle Zhang. You, Mother, and Yu Xian, please don't get involved. I'm done eating. I'm going upstairs. Then, Duanmu Ke went upstairs without looking back. Duanmu Tachio was so angry that he slammed the table. I hurried to his side and comforted him. Father, don't be angry. I'll go upstairs and talk to him. Don't be angry. What if you hurt your body? That's right. Did you break your hand? Let me see. Xiao Fengya pulled Duanmu Tachio's hand away from the table. It was red and swollen. Look at you. Your hand is swollen. Let Ke do whatever he wants. He's old enough to know when to stop. Don't be angry. I'll go get the first aid kit. I'll go. I stood up and was about to go to the living room to get the first aid kit, but Yu Xian stopped me. She stood in front of me and said, I'll go. Then, she turned and walked to the living room. Chapter 46. After Yu Xian brought the first aid kit over, Xiao Fengya carefully bandaged Duanmu Tachio's injured hand. After Duanmu Ke's tantrum, no one could eat anymore. I saw that Duanmu Tachio's anger had almost subsided, and Xiao Fengya was comforting him. Yu Xian said she was going out to do something, so she found an excuse to leave the restaurant. I felt that I was unnecessary, and since I was worried about Duanmu Ke, who was sulking upstairs, I found an excuse to return to my room. I pushed open the door. Duanmu Ke was half naked, and he was wearing a pair of casual pants. He was sitting on a stall by the window, staring blankly out the window. I walked over to him and sat down, leaning my head on his shoulder. He didn't speak, and neither did I. The two of us leaned against each other by the window. I didn't know what he was thinking, and he didn't know what I was thinking. After a while, Duanmu K raised his arm and pulled me into his embrace. I hugged him back, and he gently patted me. "What's wrong?" I shook my head. "It's so good to have you." "Silly, what nonsense are you talking about?" Duanmu K cupped my face and kissed me on the lips. Feeling the warmth of his kiss, I tightly hugged his neck and whispered, "No matter what, no matter where I go, as long as I have you by my side, it's enough." I understand. Just now, I really didn't control my emotions well. I shouldn't have vented my dissatisfaction towards others on the people who care about me the most. After I came up, I also reflected on my actions. I didn't consider Mom and Dad's feelings. "Don't worry, I'll apologize to them later." Duanmu K lovingly stroked my hair. "That's my good husband." I kissed him on the cheek. "Silly wife, I'll go now." Duanmu K let go of me and stood up. He opened his bag and took out a t-shirt to put on. I sat there quietly, looking at his perfect body in front of me. As he changed, Duanmu K said, "It's a bit late today. I'll call Uncle Zhang tomorrow morning. It'll be best if we can move out in 2 days. If we stay here for one more day, I'll think that UXN wants to harm you." "Okay, I'll listen to you." Duanmu K made a handsome pose for me, then went to find Duanmu Tochio and Xiao Fangya to apologize. Duanmu K went downstairs for more than 2 hours before he came back. When he came back and saw his happy expression, I knew that our family had reconciled. I wasn't as nervous as before. The next day, Duanmu K contacted Uncle Zhang early in the morning and asked him to speed up the process. It would be best if we could move out as soon as possible. Uncle Zhang also agreed to increase work efficiency. When the arrangements were almost done, he would contact Duanmu Quebec. The next few days seemed to have returned to normal. I spent more time reading in the study or admiring the flowers in the garden. As the baby grew bigger day by day, my pregnancy symptoms weren't as obvious. My appetite had greatly improved. Every time Xiao Fangya saw that my appetite was getting better, she felt very happy. 2 days later, we finally received a call from Duanmu Quebec. He told us that we could move in. Everything was ready. Duanmu K and I only brought a few sets of clothes. The villa was well prepared, so we didn't need to bring much. Duanmu K asked a few of his subordinates to move all the luggage out of the villa. He stood at the door and watched to see if they had forgotten anything. I watched from the bedroom and did a simple check. Almost all of the luggage had been moved out. At this moment, Uxian came upstairs. We bumped into each other at the door of my bedroom. She stopped at the door as if she had something to say to me. I gave a few instructions to the people moving the luggage. Then, I pulled Uxian into the house and closed the door. I turned to look at Uxian. "What's the matter?" Uxian glanced at me and said, "I thought you guys were just saying it casually that day. I didn't expect you to really do it. You made the right choice. You even knew to move in order to avoid me." I was stunned. I thought for a moment and said, "You guessed wrong. We didn't move to avoid you. We just wanted to live alone." "Do you think I'll believe that?" Uxian sneered. Then, she sat on Duanmu K's bed. She gently stroked the bedspread and looked at me. "Although I hate you, sometimes I envy you. You can be in Duanmu Gija's arms. You can be by his side. You can also be in his heart. Did you know? If it weren't for your engagement, I was very confident that I could use my own means to climb into his bed and become his woman. Now, it's all ruined because of you. Love is something between two people. If one person is willing and the other doesn't, do you think it will last? You clearly know that Xiao K doesn't love you, but you still want to use your selfish love to bind him. Do you think he will be happy?" I asked her back. "Do you really think that I won't do anything to you after you move?" Uxian stood up and walked towards me. She stared into my eyes. "Uxian, you can hurt me, but you don't have the right to hurt the child in my belly. This child belongs to Duanmu's family. It belongs to Duanmu Quebec. Let alone you, even I don't have the right to hurt it." You better take care of yourself. Regardless of whether Uxian was telling the truth or not, I really didn't want my child to be hurt. That's only your and Duanmu K's child. Do you think you're the only one who can have a child? Don't be naive. Do you think Uncle Duanmu and Auntie Xiao are so good to you just because of the engagement? If you weren't carrying Duanmu's child in your belly, would they still be so good to you? Don't be naive. Uxian looked at me mockingly. Whatever you say. I can only tell you that if you still want to do anything, don't blame me for being impolite. I was lenient with you before because I thought you were pitiful. I didn't expect you to use my soft-heartedness as a tool to frame me. After we move out, we probably won't be able to see each other for a long time. That's good, I don't have to see your face as if you've done something wrong. I turned around and opened the door, preparing to leave. Uxian said to me from behind, "You will regret it. Everything that happened before was just the beginning. The real show has just begun." Hearing Uxian's words, I could imagine her evil smile. Just thinking about it made me feel very uncomfortable. I ignored her, closed the door, and walked downstairs. The people who helped us move were no longer in the living room. Duanmu K, Duanmu Tachio, and Xiao Fangya were standing in the living room, chatting about something. Duanmu K raised his head and saw me. He waved at me. Thinking that I was about to start a new life with him, I felt very happy. Chapter 47. When I saw Duanmu K, I waved at him and carefully walked down the stairs. Ever since I was pregnant, Duanmu K had been worried that the stairs would be too slippery. He was afraid that I would fall, so he had carpeted the stairs. It was much more convenient. Not only was it safe to walk, but there were also no noisy footsteps. I looked at Duanmu Quebec. He was looking at me from the bottom of the stairs with a smile on his face. I held onto the handrail and walked towards him slowly. When I was halfway there, my left foot had just stepped on the carpet at the bottom of the stairs when I felt the carpet move. I was so shocked that I grabbed onto the handrail with all my might and took a step forward with my right foot. If I hadn't taken this step, there might not have been any accidents. My right foot twisted on the stairs and I lost my balance and rolled down the stairs. "Shaoli!" I heard Duanmu K's hoarse shout. He quickly ran to my side and hugged me. "Shaoli, Shaoli, don't scare me." Duanmu K hugged me tightly. I was stunned. At this moment, Duanmu Tachio and Xiao Fangya rushed to my side. I leaned against Duanmu K's chest, and I felt a sharp pain in my right ankle. I forced myself to sit up to check my injury. At this moment, I felt a sharp pain in my abdomen. I clutched my abdomen and leaned back against Duanmu K's chest. Xiao Fangya screamed. She covered her mouth and sat on the floor. Duanmu K looked at her and said, "Mom, what's wrong? Don't scare us at this time." Xiao Fangya pointed at my abdomen with one hand and covered her mouth with the other. Trembling, she said, "K, quick. Take her to the hospital. Quick." I grabbed Duanmu K's arm and asked, "Xiao K, what's wrong?" Duanmu K looked in the direction Xiao Fangya was pointing and froze. Then, he became very serious. He carried me out the door and said, "It's too late. I'm taking you to the hospital." The moment Duanmu K picked me up, my gaze landed on Uxian's sneering face at the staircase on the second floor. Duanmu K didn't tell me what had happened. He just carried me and ran. He put me in the back seat of his car and drove me to the hospital. Usually, it would take 15 minutes to get to the hospital, but today, Duanmu K took less than 5 minutes to get to the hospital. I didn't know how many traffic lights he ran on the way there, and I didn't know how much he was speeding. After he arrived at the hospital, he threw the car to the side of the road and rushed to the emergency room with me in his arms. Along the way, my consciousness became more and more blurry. I only remembered that Duanmu K carried me onto a stretcher. Then, a group of people surrounded us. There were nurses and doctors, but Duanmu K wasn't there. After that, I completely lost consciousness. Since I was pregnant, I didn't know how many times I had fainted. I felt like I had a dream. I dreamed that Xian was standing not too far away with a dagger in her hand. She was pointing it at a heart with the word K written on it. She was using the dagger to cut the heart. The ground was covered in blood, but she didn't stop. She was carefully cutting the heart again and again. I suddenly woke up from the dream. When I woke up, I saw Duanmu Ke, Duanmu Tachio, Xiao Fangya, and my parents next to me. Everyone was looking at me with a sad expression. Xiao Fangya saw me open my eyes and turned around. I saw her shoulders shaking. I guessed that she was crying. Even Duanmu Tachio and my father, who were usually cold and indifferent, had a worried look on their faces. Duanmu Ke held my hand and lowered his head. He didn't say anything. I seemed to have guessed the terrible result, but there was still a glimmer of hope in my heart. I hoped that my guess was wrong. I pulled Duanmu Ke's hand. He raised his head and looked at me. I could see that his eyes were red and swollen. It seemed that he had cried too. I asked him softly, "Hubby, I'm okay, right? Although I fell, it wasn't very high. Is the baby okay?" Duanmu Ke looked at me. His eyes were red. He stroked my hair and said, "The doctor said that you're okay. You just sprained both your feet to different degrees. But..." He didn't continue and turned his head away. My head buzzed. I grabbed Duanmu Ke's sleeve and shouted, "But what?" My mother saw that I couldn't control my emotions. She hurried to my side and pulled my hand away from Duanmu Ke's sleeve. Then, she signaled to Xiao Fangya to pull Duanmu Ke to the side. Seeing that no one answered me, I became even more anxious. I shouted, "But what?" My mother hugged me tightly and stroked my hair. She said softly, "Lier, be good. Don't get too excited. The doctor said that your body is very weak right now. You need to rest." I couldn't stop my tears from flowing down. I hugged my mother tightly. "Mom, what happened? Why didn't you tell me? Did something happen to the baby?" I clutched my mother's clothes, crying very sadly. My mother gently patted my back and said, "Lier, you're still young. Believe me, there will be more babies in the future." I could feel that my mother's voice was choked with sobs when she said that. My mind blanked out. The baby is gone? I cried even harder. I felt that the whole world had become very dark. Duanmu Ke walked to our side. He wiped my mother's tears and helped her to the sofa. Then, he sat next to me. I looked up and saw his crying face. I threw myself into his arms, my tears soaking his clothes. "Wifey, I'm sorry." Duanmu Ke hugged me. He couldn't control his tears either. "It's all my fault. I didn't take good care of you. I know you're sad. You can hit me if you don't feel so sad." I leaned on Duanmu Ke's shoulder and tore at his clothes. I bit the flesh on his shoulder, causing him to grimace in pain. He didn't push me away. I didn't know what I was thinking anymore. There was only one sentence in my head, and that was that the baby was no longer here. I didn't know how long I cried. Duanmu Ke kept hugging me. Maybe it was because my body was too weak after the miscarriage. Gradually, I didn't even have the strength to cry. Duanmu Ke laid me down on the bed and covered me with the blanket. He held my hand and looked at me. I reached out and touched the spot where his tears had streaked. I thought about how I had found out that I was pregnant and how the baby was gone. I felt very upset. As I thought about it, my tears fell again. Duanmu Ke saw that I was crying and couldn't control his emotions. Chapter 48. After staying in the hospital for a day, no one left the room. I lay on the bed, my heart as dead as ashes. All I could think about was how sorry I was for my child. Looking at Duanmu Ke's sad face, I knew he was even sadder than I was. He loved this child very much and was looking forward to seeing him again. The atmosphere was so quiet that it felt like the air had frozen. At this time, my mother came to my side. Holding my hand, she said, "Lier, do you feel better now?" I looked at my mother and said, "Mom, I feel much better. There's nothing that can make me feel more sad now." My mother said, "I've just discussed it with your father. After the doctor agrees to let you leave the hospital, you can come back to our home. Go back to your own home and rest well." At this time, Duanmu K came to my side and said to my mother, "Mom, can you not take Shaoli with you? Don't worry, you can leave her with me. My parents and I will take good care of her. Don't worry, we won't let any harm come to her again." My mother looked at Duanmu K and said, "Do you think I will still believe your words? Before marrying into your family, I've been educating my daughter. I told her not to be unruly in your family and not to do things that hurt others. But my daughter is too kind. She didn't hurt any of you. Why would such a kind person encounter such a thing? Doesn't your family have any responsibility?" "Mom, I know. I understand what you mean. But please believe me one more time. I won't let any harm come to her again. I promise you, please believe me and give me another chance." Duanmu K looked at my mother apologetically. At this time, Xiao Fengya came to our side. She held my mother's hand and said, "Sister, don't worry. I will take good care of Shaoli. I also promise that I will do my best to protect her. I won't let any harm come to her again." Now is not the time to talk about harming or not. No one can guarantee that such a thing won't happen in the future. But now that it has happened, we must take her back to protect our daughter's safety. It will be easier for us to take care of her. I looked at my mother and held her hand as I said, "Mom, just let me stay in the Duanmu family. This matter has nothing to do with the Duanmu family. It's mainly because I didn't take care of myself. I accidentally fell down the stairs and caused a miscarriage. This matter has nothing to do with any of them. You should talk to Dad." At this time, my father also came over. He looked at Duanmu Tachio and then looked at me. Then he said to my mother, "Why don't we listen to our daughter? Since she doesn't want to come back, then let her do what she wants." My mother looked at my father and said seriously, "No one can say anything about this matter. Since I have decided to take her home, I will take her home. Don't try to persuade me any more. This matter has nothing to do with any of you. I just want my daughter to stay by my side and be taken care of by me. I'm really scared now. I'm scared that she will get hurt again, or even..." My mother choked. Duanmu Tachio looked at me with a helpless expression. But my heart was as helpless as his. I didn't know how to explain this matter to my mother. Just as everyone was in a deadlock, Duanmu Tachio came over. He looked at my father and said, "Brother, let's just let sister-in-law do as she pleases. Perhaps too many things have happened to Shaoli recently, and sister-in-law can't accept it right now. We should let her stay with her daughter for a while. When sister-in-law is willing, I will have Duanmu K bring Shaoli back. What do you think?" My father looked at my mother and then nodded to Duanmu Tachio. Then, the two of them walked out of the room. My mother took my hand and said, "Shaoli, you should rest well. When you are discharged, come back to our home. Of course, Xiao K can come and accompany you at any time. You two should have a good talk. Your mother and I will go out." Then, she turned and walked out of the room with Xiao Fengya. Only Duanmu and I were left in the room. Duanmu Tachio sat next to me and looked at me. I could feel the pain in his heart. I gently stroked his head and said, "Don't be sad. When I am well, I will come back quickly. My mother is also very worried about me. Don't be sad." Duanmu K held my hand and said, "I lost my child. I don't want to lose you even more. If the child is gone, we can have another one. But if you are not here, I will lose the direction of my life. If I lose you, I will have no meaning." I moved to the side of the bed to make some space. Then, I looked at Duanmu K and patted the space I made, indicating for him to come up. He looked at me but didn't move. I smiled and said to him, "You must be tired. Come up and lie with me for a while. I really need you by my side right now, okay?" Duanmu K nodded. He lay down next to me and hugged me tightly. I heard that familiar heartbeat again. I leaned against Duanmu Tachio's chest and thought about all the things that had happened recently. I knew that it was Uxin who did it, but I didn't have any ability to fight back. I thought that Duanmu K was like me. He also knew what Uxin had done. However, it was as if the two of us were under a spell. We didn't have any ability to fight back. Lying in Duanmu K's arms, I heard him sob. I lifted my head and looked at him. Tears streaked across his face. My heart broke. I gently stroked his face and said, "Hubby, don't cry. I'm also sad that you're like this. But no matter what, we have to face life and the future positively, okay? Don't be sad anymore." Duanmu K hugged me tightly and cried. I patted his back. It was the first time I felt that a man who could support the sky and earth would show his weakest side to you. What kind of trust was that? Duanmu K held my face and said, "I'm sorry. I really didn't expect things to turn out like this. I had a good plan. The two of us would move to the villa and live on our own. I would take care of you, and you would stay with me. When the baby was born, the three of us would move back home and live with our parents. But everything I imagined was good. Why did reality turn out like this? It's like a bolt from the blue. I can't bear it alone." I didn't say anything. I held Duanmu K's face and kissed him deeply on the lips. Chapter 49. After staying in the hospital for more than a week, it was finally time to leave. During the past few days in the hospital, Duanmu K stayed by my side every day. He took care of me during the day and stayed with me at night. On the day I left the hospital, my mother brought some people over early. They packed my things and prepared to take me home. Seeing Duanmu K's hesitant eyes, I felt very conflicted. However, when I thought of my parents' worries, I had no choice but to say goodbye to him reluctantly and get on the car to go home. On the way home, I felt very depressed. I didn't know how long the car had been driving, but we finally arrived at the door. The housekeeper and the nannies were waiting at the door to welcome us. My mother and I walked into the room. My father walked toward us. He looked at me and smiled. "It's good that you're back." After greeting my father, my mother took my hand and walked up the stairs. She brought me back to the room I used to live in. Pushing the door open, I saw that it was still the same as before I got married. My mother told me that after I left, she arranged for the nannies to clean the room every day. She also said that this would always be my home. As long as I wanted to come back, I could come back at any time. Stroking my bed, my mood was still very complicated. I didn't know what Duanmu K was doing at this moment. Did he miss me as much as I missed him? Right at this moment, my phone rang. I turned it on and saw Duanmu K's message. "Are you home? I miss you so much." My heart was broken. Duanmu K and I chatted for a while. He kept asking me to take good care of myself and take care of my body. He also told me to eat on time. Hearing Duanmu K's words of concern, I could feel that he was completely different from when I first met him. I loved him more and more, and my feelings for him became stronger and stronger. Now, I really didn't want to lose him. That was why I cherished Duanmu K's love for me. I thought he felt the same way. Although it was a marriage contract, it changed our initial thoughts. From strangers to lovers, I have never regretted it. Because I had just been discharged from the hospital, my body was still very weak. In order to make it convenient for me, my mother would send the food directly to my room every time. She would watch me eat before leaving. She also wouldn't disturb me for too long in my room. Most of the time, she would let me rest peacefully. Other than when I was sleeping, as long as Duanmu wasn't busy, he would chat with me. He would tell me funny things that happened to him. Time flew by as she chatted with him. Just like that, the first day passed. The next day, Duanmu K came to our house early. He first chatted with my parents for a while, then ran to my room to accompany me. Duanmu K pushed the door open and placed a bag of delicious food next to me. I flipped through the bag and saw that it was all my favorite food. It seemed that he knew me better. Duanmu-ke climbed onto the bed and lay down next to me. He hugged me and asked, "How was your rest yesterday?" I nodded. "Not bad. Although I haven't slept here for a long time, it was still very comfortable. How about you? How was last night?" Duanmu-ke shook his head meaningfully. "I didn't sleep very well last night." I looked at him suspiciously. "How could you not sleep well? What was the reason?" Duanmu-ke looked at me. "Guess." I rolled my eyes at him and said, "How would I know what the reason is?" Duanmu-ke hugged me. "Because you weren't by my side. Naturally, I couldn't sleep well. I always felt like something was missing." I leaned tightly against Duanmu-ke's chest. Listening to his words, I blushed. Suddenly, Duanmu-ke sat up as if he remembered something. He looked at me and said, "Oh right. When I got home yesterday, I checked the carpet on the floor." "Oh. Did you find anything?" "When I got home, I found that the carpet on the floor had been repaired. I asked Mom and Dad, but they said they didn't know anything about it." "Then who could have done it? Do you still need to ask? It must have been you, Exine. How can you be so sure it was her? What if the carpet was damaged?" "Impossible. The timing was too coincidental. That day, you fell down the stairs because the carpet slipped. But I checked it yesterday. The carpet had just been repaired. There was only a hole in it. That proves that there was a nail there before, but it disappeared, causing you to fall down the stairs. If the carpet was deformed after he stepped on it, then the nail that fixed the carpet should have been left there, and the carpet should have been torn. However, there was no tear at all. The carpet was intact, which proved that the nail on the carpet must have been removed by someone in advance. Thinking about it, other than you, Exine, who else in that house would harm you? But I don't have any evidence, so I can't accuse her. It's not the first or second time. She's so scheming. She already calculated that we can't do anything to her without evidence. That's why she acted so unscrupulously. Ah, it's a pity. If only I had recorded our conversation when she told me the truth. Now, if I find a chance to talk to her, and secretly record it, do you think she'll tell the truth?" I asked. "That's impossible. Last time, when you had a falling out with her, she told you the truth, but you didn't have any evidence. She won't say anything to you that you can use against her. Don't you know how scheming she is?" Duanmu-ke sighed and shook his head. "I didn't expect you, Exine, to be this kind of person. I always thought that she was only bad at doing things, but I didn't expect her to be such a shrewd woman. This time, perhaps she really did do it. She probably already knew about my miscarriage, and was probably laughing up her sleeve." I stroked Duanmu-ke's hair. Looking at him, I said, "Okay, don't think about it anymore. Let's put this matter behind us. Right now, the most important thing is to take care of my body so that I can give birth to a child for you." Duanmu-ke smiled and looked at me. "How can one be enough? We need at least 3 or 4. I patted his head. "I'm not a pig. How can I give birth to so many?" Duanmu-ke smiled and said, "Don't worry. The days are long. What are you afraid of?" I leaned into Duanmu-ke's embrace, feeling very happy. After a while, Duanmu-ke patted my shoulder and said, "Wife, I have a lot of things to deal with in the company, so I won't have much time to accompany you. Don't think too much about it. As long as I'm not busy, I'll definitely accompany you. If I don't have anything to do, I'll definitely come to see you. But if I'm pressed for time and can't come to see you or chat with you, can you not blame me?" Chapter 50. I looked at him and said, "Idiot, I'm not that narrow-minded. I know you have a lot of things to do, so you shouldn't spend too much energy on me. I'll definitely stay here and quietly take care of myself. You can be at ease and work hard to earn money. Try to earn enough money to feed your 3 or 4 children's milk powder." I made a face at him. "That's a must. I believe that I will definitely have the ability, but the prerequisite is that you have to give me the motivation." Duanmu-ke looked at me and said, "I will definitely give you motivation. You don't have to worry about that. We still have a long way to go, right? Duanmu-ke held me in his arms and gently kissed my forehead. After that, Duanmu-ke rarely came to my house. Occasionally, he would contact me through WeChat, but it didn't take long before he rushed to work. I knew he was busy, so I didn't want to disturb him. However, I was worried about his health since I wasn't by his side. I didn't know if he was doing well. I really wanted to get better quickly and stay by his side. Even if I couldn't do anything for him, just quietly accompanying him would make me happy. Every 2 or 3 days, he would stay at my house for a night. Every time, I wanted to talk to him and listen to him tell me about the things that happened around him. But after a few words, he would fall asleep next to me. Looking at him sleeping soundly, I didn't have the heart to wake him up. I could only quietly lie next to him. The next morning, before I got up, he had already left for work. He spent less and less time with me, and the number of times he contacted me also decreased. Almost 2 weeks had passed, and Duanmu-ke hadn't contacted me for 2 days. Although I called him, he said he was busy. He didn't wait for me to finish talking before he hung up. I suddenly felt a little lost. This inexplicable feeling of insecurity made me feel that something was going to happen. However, I still believed in him. I believed that he wouldn't ignore me. I believed that his heart was still thinking about me. I didn't think about those messy things anymore. I just wanted my body to get better as soon as possible. Then, I could return to Duanmu-ke's house and stay by his side to accompany him. Being separated for a long time would often cause the feelings between two people to fade, but the happiness of absence makes the heart grow fonder. 2 weeks later, my mother accompanied me to the hospital for a comprehensive checkup. Finally, my body recovered completely. I was very happy because I could see Duanmu-ke again. I really missed him. I had been away from him for a long time. Would he miss me too? The day before I decided to leave home, my mother helped me pack my luggage. She said a lot of things to me. She could tell that I really loved Duanmu, Quebec. She told me that love was a matter between two people. Two people should learn to give and think for each other. She also told me that no matter what happened, I should face it rationally and not be too emotional. I knew that my mother said those words for my own good, but at the same time, I also believed that Duanmu-ke wouldn't do anything that would hurt me. The next day, my mother arranged for the driver to take me back to Duanmu's house. When I was about to reach the gate, I saw Xiao Fengya waiting for me at the gate. When she saw my car arrive at the gate, she welcomed me. When she saw me, she hugged me tightly. I could feel that she was very excited. Xiao Fengya arranged for the housekeeper to carry my luggage upstairs. She took my hand and led me to the living room. Xiao Fengya held my hand tightly, her eyes glistening with tears. She looked at me and asked, "Xiao Li, how have you been? Have you recovered?" I nodded and said, "Mom, I'm much better. How have you and Dad been?" "We've been fine. When you weren't here, it felt like something was missing in the house. It was lifeless. We couldn't get used to not seeing you and Duanmu-ke together." I smiled and said, "How could that be? I'm back now, aren't I?" Xiao Fengya held my hand and said, "It's good that you're back. It's good that you're back." I looked around and didn't see anyone else. I turned and asked, "Mom, where did Dad and the others go? How come I don't see them?" Xiao Fengya said, "Li Xiong went to the company. There are some things he needs to take care of. Yu Xian left early. Maybe a friend is looking for her. As for K, Xiao Fengya paused. "Where did he go?" I asked. Xiao Fengya sighed and said, The company has been too busy recently. He hasn't been home for a while. I guess he's at the company right now." I nodded and said, Okay. I don't have anything to do right now. How about I go to the company to find him?" Xiao Fengya said, "Do you want to rest for a while? You can wait for him to come back. I'll call him later." I shook my head and said, "No need, Mom. I'll go to his company and give him a surprise." Xiao Fengya smiled and said, Okay. Be careful on the way. I'll have the driver take you there." Just like that, I arrived at Dwanmu K's company. The girl at the front desk greeted me warmly. Hello. How can I help you? It seemed that she didn't know me. That wasn't strange. After all, not everyone in the underworld knew me. I looked at her and smiled. I'm here to see Dwanmu, Quebec. Please wait a moment. She dialed a number and said a few words to the person on the other end. After hanging up, she walked over to me and said, Hello, please come to the reception room. I followed her to the reception room and she left. After a while, a woman in business attire came in. She sat across from me and smiled. Hello. Are you looking for General Manager Dwanmu? I nodded. She continued, Do you have an appointment with him? I thought for a moment and said, I don't have an appointment with him. She looked at me and said, It's like this. The general manager isn't in the company today. I looked at her in confusion and asked, Isn't today a working day? How could he not be in the company? It's like this, madam. I'm the general manager's secretary. He really isn't in the company today. But his mother told me that he was in the company. Oh, so you know, madam. I nodded. She continued, It's like this. Let me tell you, our company has been discussing a cooperation project. The general manager has brought all the relevant staff to the hotel to work on the project. Chapter 51. It turned out that Dwanmu K was really busy. I asked, How long have they been there? About 3 days, but the contract was signed yesterday. The general manager should have come back today, but for some reason, he didn't come to the company today. I don't know about the other details. I thought for a moment and said, Can you tell me the name of the hotel where they're discussing the project? The woman nodded and wrote down the name of the hotel for me. I took the slip of paper and took a taxi to the hotel. Thinking that I would be able to see Dwanmu K soon, I was very excited. The hotel wasn't far from their company, so I arrived shortly after. I entered the hotel lobby and went to the front desk. The receptionist welcomed me warmly. Hello, how may I help you? A receptionist stood up and asked me. It's like this. I heard that the Black Feather Group is discussing a cooperation project here. I would like to ask if they have booked any rooms here. Please wait a moment. I'll check for you. After waiting for a while, the receptionist said, Hello, I've checked. The Black Feather Group is indeed discussing a cooperation project here. They have booked 4 rooms. That's great. Can you help me check which room Dwanmu K is staying in? Please wait a moment. I've checked. Dwanmu K is staying in room 1301. Do I need to call him? No, thank you. I'll go up and find him. I turned and walked to the elevator. I took the elevator to the 13th floor. At the end of the corridor, I found room 1301. I stood at the door and decided to call Dwanmu, Quebec. I dialed his number, but no one answered. Through the door, I could faintly hear Dwanmu K's phone ringing. It seemed that he was indeed in the room. After confirming that he wasn't answering, I pressed the doorbell. I pressed the doorbell for a long time, but there was no response. I dialed Dwanmu K's number. This time, he didn't pick up either. I was a little anxious, so I pressed the doorbell again. I leaned on the door and vaguely heard footsteps in the room. Then, a woman's voice sounded. Who is it? Hearing this voice, my mind went blank. At the same time, I imagined all kinds of possible situations. I kept asking myself, did Dwanmu K cheat on me? Impossible, he clearly loves me so much, but who is this woman's voice? Just as I was feeling conflicted, the door to the room opened. A woman with messy hair and a towel wrapped around her body stood in the doorway. Her sleepy face showed that she had just woken up. She looked me up and down. Who are you? What's the matter? I looked at her and tried to remain calm. I'm here to look for someone, I said softly. What are you looking for? Said the woman impatiently. There is no one here. Hurry up and leave. If you don't tell me, I'll call security. She reached out and pushed me, trying to push me away. I'm here to look for Douanmu Quebec. I tried to control my temper and silently told myself not to get angry. You're here to look for Douanmu K? The woman looked at me with a surprised face. I glared at her and pushed her away. I went straight to the room. It was a suite, and the bathroom door was open. I glanced around and didn't see anything strange. However, when I went to the living room, my heart couldn't stay calm anymore. The living room was a mess. There were all kinds of beer bottles on the coffee table. It seemed that several people had drunk here. The air in the room was filled with the thick smell of alcohol. There were some clothes scattered on the floor in the living room. I walked around the living room and went to the bedroom. There were also some clothes on the floor. Most of them were women's clothes. There were even some bras. It seemed that these clothes belonged to that woman. On the bed in the bedroom, I saw Douanmu Quebec. His upper body was naked and he was still sleeping soundly. The woman followed me. She pressed on my shoulder and asked, "Who are you? Who let you in? Hurry up and get out." I shook off her hand and walked to Douanmu Quebec. There was a bottle of water on the bedside table. I opened it and splashed it on Douanmu Quebec. Douanmu K woke up. He sat up and shouted, "Who is it?" He rubbed his eyes and looked at me standing next to him with the bottle of water. His face was serious. He also saw the woman standing behind me. His expression was one of astonishment. My wife, why are you here?" The woman finally realized that I was Douanmu K's wife. She crouched in the corner and shivered. I glared at the woman and looked at Douanmu Quebec. "What's going on?" Douanmu K shook his head and signaled the woman to leave. I saw that the woman was about to leave, so I shouted, "Stop right there. You're not allowed to leave." When I tried to grab her, Douanmu K pulled me into his arms. The woman picked up her clothes and ran out of the door in a panic. She left just like that. I shook Douanmu K off, tears streaming down my face. "What's going on? Tell me clearly," I said to Douanmu K as I wiped the tears from the corners of my eyes. "Wife, listen to me. It's definitely not what you think it is." Douanmu K didn't let go of me. "If it's not what it is, then what should it be? It's already so obvious. Can you tell me what it is? Do you think it makes sense?" I shook off Douanmu K's hand and stood in front of him. "It's really not what you think it is. I just got to know this woman during the negotiation." "You just got to know her? You just got to know her, and she dared to appear in your room, and even naked on your bed?" I was a little agitated. "It's really not what you think. You have to believe me. Yesterday, after our successful cooperation, everyone had a party in my room to celebrate. Everyone drank a little too much. Originally, everyone was here before I drank too much. But I don't know why, but when I woke up, I saw you here. That woman was also here. That woman is actually a director of the company we talked to. I didn't even know her before. I didn't know her before. Don't lie. Do you think I'll believe you? I know you won't believe anything I say now, but please believe me. I definitely didn't do anything wrong to you." Douanmu K held out his hand and said, "I swear, if I did anything wrong to you, I will be struck by lightning and die a horrible death." "Wife, don't be angry, okay? You just recovered, so you can't be angry." Chapter 52. Looking at Douanmu K, I couldn't control myself. I lay on his body and cried. Douanmu K held me in his arms and said softly, "Wife, I'm sorry. Don't cry anymore. I'm sorry. It's all my fault. If you're angry, you can hit me or scold me. Don't be sad anymore, okay? It's not good for your health." I pulled his arm and cried so hard that I couldn't make a sound. Douanmu K carried me to the bed and gently put me next to him. Then, he hugged me tightly. Perhaps it was because the woman had slept with him, but the bed sheets, blanket, and pillows were all filled with another woman's scent. I pushed Douanmu K away and sat up. I wiped the tears from the corner of my eyes and sat there looking at him. Duanmu didn't know what to do. He looked at me and asked, "Wife, what's the matter? Why are you getting up? Come, let me hug you." Then, he reached out to hug me. I shook off Duanmu's hand and said, "Don't touch me. I don't want to sleep in a bed that you slept in with another woman." Hearing my words, the way Duanmu looked at me changed. It was the same as the way he looked at me when we were drinking. It seemed that he was a little angry. Duanmu pulled my hand and said, "I already said that nothing happened between me and her. You're so sure that something happened between me and her, right?" I didn't know why, but when I saw Duanmu's familiar yet strange face, my heart felt like it was being cut by a knife. It was bleeding. It seemed that my presence here was unnecessary. I wiped the tears from the corners of my eyes and got off the bed. I picked up my backpack, which had been thrown on the ground during the chaos, and prepared to leave. "Where are you going?" Duanmu shouted. I ignored him and walked to the door. Suddenly, Duanmu rushed behind me and picked me up. He walked to the bed and threw me on it. As I was about to get up, he pressed me under his body and I couldn't move. I used both my hands to push Duanmu away. Because I used a lot of strength, his naked upper body was covered in bloody scratches from my scratches. Duanmu held my hands down and watched me struggle under his body. As he watched, he actually laughed out loud. "What are you laughing at?" I looked at him with a puzzled face. Duanmu stroked my hair. His expression wasn't as serious as before. It became very gentle. He said softly, "You're like a kitten." "What? Do you really think you can run away from me?" I glared at him and said, "Duanmu Quebec. I don't want to talk to you. Let me go. Since you said I'm a gangster, I have to do something a gangster should do. Isn't that right, beauty?" Duanmu looked at me with a perverted smile. Then, he slid his hand under my skirt. My legs kicked wildly, but he was still on top of me. I didn't have any room to resist. Duanmu held my arm with one hand and held my face with the other. I looked into his eyes again. This scene was familiar. It was just like the time when he had pressed on top of me in the resting room of the wedding venue. The only thing that had changed was that both of us existed in each other's hearts. Duanmu looked at me. With a tender expression, he caressed my face and said, "No matter how good others are, they are not mine. No matter how many people throw themselves at me, they cannot enter my heart. Silly wife, you're the only one I love." Duanmu kissed my lips. It was a feeling I missed. Only Duanmu could give me. I stopped resisting and put my arms around Duanmu's neck. Duanmu took the opportunity to hold me in his arms. His hand went under my clothes and wandered around my body. Hearing my rapid breathing, Duanmu became even more excited. He kissed from my mouth to my neck and unbuttoned my clothes. Then, he took them off one by one until I was naked under him. Duanmu raised his head and looked at my naked body. Embarrassed, I pulled the blanket over my face. Duanmu moved the blanket away and looked at me. "Little fool, your face is red." I felt even more embarrassed. I covered my face with my hands and said, "I'm not." Duanmu moved my hands away and said, "We're an old married couple. Why are you still so shy?" I looked at him and nodded. Duanmu pressed on top of me and buried his head in my neck. He said softly, "Wife, let's have another child." I hugged Duanmu and nodded. Duanmu raised his head and looked at me. Then, he kissed me on the lips. After a round of passion, I lay in Duanmu's arms and felt his warmth. Perhaps it was because he hadn't let loose in a long time, but Duanmu lay next to me. His forehead was covered in sweat. I lay down next to him and reached out to gently wipe the sweat off his face. It had been a long time since I had seen him so close. He was as handsome as ever, and as always, he was only gentle with me. At this moment, Duanmu's phone rang. He opened his eyes and took the phone. He glanced at the screen and then at me, who was standing next to him with a face full of question marks. He pulled me into his arms and answered the call. "Hello, who is this?" Duanmu K kissed my forehead. "Ha ha ha, young Master K, do you recognize who I am?" A man's voice came from the other end of the phone. "No. You're so forgetful. I'm the person in charge of the cooperation agreement with your company." Duanmu K thought for a moment and said, "Oh, I remember now. It's Director Lee. Hello." I lay on Duanmu K's body and listened to the other person's words. "Hello, young Master Quebec. I'm sorry to disturb you. Did you rest well last night?" Obviously, there was something to this sentence. I looked at Duanmu K and Duanmu K looked at me. "What do you mean by this?" Duanmu K heard the hidden meaning in the man's words. Young Master K is indeed smart. Young Master K is indeed smart. Actually, I didn't call you for anything else. I just wanted to introduce you to the girl who stayed over in young Master K's room last night. She is our company's new head of marketing. Originally, when the two companies signed the contract, it wasn't her turn to participate, but I heard that your company specifically wanted Michelle to participate. I immediately understood young Master K's intentions, so I took the opportunity last night to arrange for Michelle to stay over at your place. We're all men, I understand you. Who doesn't have needs, right? Hearing the man's words, Duanmu K and I both froze. Director Lee, you have to have a basis for your words. Be careful or I'll sue you for slander. Duanmu K's words revealed his dissatisfaction. Chapter 53. Young Master K, that's where you're wrong. I did what your company asked me to do. What's wrong? You don't want to admit it now that you've had your fun? Before Duanmu K could say anything, I grabbed Duanmu K's arm and gestured for him to calm down. Then, I picked up a pen and paper from the bedside table and wrote a few words for him to see. Duanmu K gave me a thumbs up and said to the other end of the phone, "Director Lee, I was just joking with you. How about this? I didn't have time to talk to Miss Michelle this morning because of some matters. Can you ask her to come to my room now? I'll definitely accept this favor. Just ask her to come over." Okay. I'll ask her to come over now." Duanmu K hung up the phone. He looked at me and sighed. As I put on my clothes, I said to him, "See? I'll see how you're going to deal with this mess after drinking." Duanmu K scratched his head and said, "I really didn't have sex with her. I don't know what to do now." After I put on my clothes, I sat down next to Duanmu K and looked at him. "Don't you think it's strange? Director Lee said that someone in your company specifically asked for Michelle to join the collaboration. What's more, Michelle appeared in your room the night the contract was signed." "That's right." Duanmu K nodded. "What's more, I appeared at the scene at a very inappropriate time. At the time, I called you at the door. I faintly heard your phone ringing, but you didn't answer. I knocked for a long time, but no one opened the door. The second time I called, no one answered. When I knocked again, that woman came to open the door. When she opened the door, she was only wearing a bath towel. My first reaction was that you two had just done it, or she had just taken a bath. Can I say that I didn't hear my phone or the doorbell?" Duanmu K looked at me with a helpless expression. "You didn't hear anything? Then there's only one explanation. The phone was left in the living room, and the bedroom door was closed. As for why the girl opened the door in a towel, I think I can explain it." "Then why?" Duanmu K asked. "First, she saw me calling you. Then, she heard me knocking on the door. She saw me through the peephole and knew that I was your wife. In order to make me misunderstand that something had happened between you two, she took off all her clothes and pretended that you two had just had sex. She used that to confuse me and make me misunderstand you." Duanmu K thought for a moment and asked, "But why would she do that? I only got to know her through this collaboration. Why would she set us up like this?" "You can ask her when she comes. You can ask her in the drawing room, and I'll hide in the bedroom and pretend I'm not there." I put my arms around Duanmu K's neck and kissed him. You did something wrong, so you have to clean it up yourself. Duanmu K lay on the pillow and sighed with a hopeless expression. Oh my God, why did she have to do this? Duanmu K put on his clothes and went to the drawing room to wait for her. I told him what I wanted to ask her and hid in the bedroom. Not long after, the doorbell rang. Duanmu K opened the door and a girl walked in. It was Michelle, who had run away in a panic this morning. Have a seat. Duanmu K pointed at the seat across from him. Michelle sat down embarrassedly. What's your name? Duanmu K asked. Hello, young Master Quebec. I'm Michelle. Her voice was very low, and I had to listen carefully to hear her clearly. Well, I won't beat around the bush with you. Tell me briefly what happened between the two of us last night. After a while, Michelle said, It's like this. Last night, everyone was drinking in young Master K's room to celebrate the signing of the contract. Everyone was drunk except for me because I was allergic to alcohol. Later, it was very late, around 1 a.m., and Director Lee told everyone to go back to rest. Young Master K, you were already drunk and unconscious. Director Lee told me to take you to the bedroom and take care of you. Then, they left. I helped you back to the bedroom, and you? Michelle glanced at Duanmu Quebec. What did I do? Duanmu K asked. You pressed me down on the bed, and then took off my clothes and had sex with me. Michelle lowered her head embarrassedly. Hearing Michelle's answer, I couldn't help but laugh in my heart. It was pretty much what I had imagined. Duanmu K stood up and walked in front of Michelle. He put his hands on the sofa's armrests and looked at Michelle. I've always been a responsible man. If I really did sleep with you last night, then you should go to the hospital's laboratory with me to do a test. If I really did do it, then I'll definitely take responsibility for you. Michelle paused and said, No need, no need. I'm also responsible for this. Young Master K, you don't have to take responsibility. Michelle glanced at Duanmu K and said in a low voice, Young Master K, I have something to do at the company. I have to go back to take care of it. I'll be leaving first. Duanmu K didn't move. Still looking at Michelle, he said word by word, I like children who speak the truth. Because, with me, lying is punishable by death. Michelle seemed to be frightened by Duanmu Quebec. She shouted, No. Duanmu K stood up and walked back to the sofa in front of her. He looked at Michelle and said, I'll give you 5 minutes. After you think it through, give me a final answer. Time flew by. No one in the room spoke. I leaned against the wall that connected the bedroom to the living room and waited for Michelle's answer. I hoped that she would tell the truth. It would be best if the person she mentioned was the one I thought of. When the 5 minutes were up, Duanmu K glanced at his watch and said to Michelle, Okay, time's up. You can tell me your answer now. What happened between the two of us last night? Michelle thought for a moment and looked at Duanmu Quebec. Young Master K, I can tell you the truth, but please promise me that you can't let anyone else know about this. After all, my whole family is indebted to my company. If the company finds out, it might endanger my family. If you promise me, I'll tell you the truth. If you don't, then I can only let the misunderstanding continue. Duanmu K thought for a moment and said to Michelle, Okay, I promise I'll keep it a secret. If your company really uses your family to threaten you, you can come find me. The Kurosawa will accept you and your family. Chapter 54. Michelle nodded and began to tell the truth. This is what happened. I just joined our company for less than 2 weeks. A month ago, I attended a recruitment interview, but I didn't pass it. 2 weeks ago, I suddenly received a call from the company's personnel department, saying that they want to hire me as the head of the marketing department. Because I'm not capable enough, I applied for the position of the marketing commissioner. I didn't expect to be promoted to the position of the head of the marketing department. I was very happy. On the first day of work, Director Lee called me over and told me that there was an agreement to be signed with the Black Nightmare Group. I did not know what it meant at that time, so I could only prepare according to the materials he gave me. I also looked through them carefully, but there was nothing strange. About a week ago, a woman came to the company. That woman left a deep impression on me. She was dressed in black, with a black hat, black sunglasses, a black mask, a black dress, and black high heels. She gave off a very oppressive feeling. On the day she came, she went straight to Director Lee's office and called me in. That woman took out $50,000 in cash from her bag and placed it in front of me. She told me that she wanted me to do something. When I saw that much money, I was a little tempted, but I did not dare to blindly agree. I asked her what it was about, and she told me that she wanted me to go to your room and get you drunk on the last night before signing the contract with your company, and take some indecent photos and videos with you. After that, she would pay me a portion of the money. Because it was harmful, I refused at first, but that woman took out the photos of my parents and brother. She said that if I did not do it, she would not be able to guarantee the safety of my family. She used my family to threaten me. I had no choice but to agree. So from the moment I moved into this hotel, I tried everything to get close to you and get your attention, but you did not respond. Finally, after signing the contract and seeing that I was going to check out the next day, Director Lee arranged a celebration party in your room. I did not expect you to agree. Before the party started, Director Lee gave me another $50,000 to have sex with you. I had no choice but to obey. That day, when everyone was drunk, he found a chance to take everyone away, leaving only you and I. I tried to take off your clothes, but you ignored me and walked back to your room. You fell asleep on the bed. I had no choice but to take a few photos beside you, but I did not dare to sleep with you, so I slept on the sofa for the whole night. Until what happened this morning, you know. Dwanmu K thought for a moment and said, "Where are the photos?" Michelle took out her phone and put it on the coffee table. "Here they are. You didn't leak these photos, did you?" "Absolutely not. Don't worry." When I saw your wife call you, I was scared. I ran back to my room until my manager called me and asked me to come here. Dwanmu K took the phone and deleted the photos that Michelle had taken of the two of them. Then, he returned the phone to Michelle and said, "I've already deleted the photos. If these photos are leaked, I'll definitely hold you responsible." Michelle sighed and said, "Don't worry. I think you're a good person. I don't want to hurt you. I've decided to quit my job and leave with my family. I'm very sorry for causing you unnecessary trouble." Hearing this, I took out my phone and sent a message to Dwanmu Quebec. I told him to try his best to keep Michelle and get her to work for him. After reading my message, Dwanmu K said to Michelle, "How about this? You don't have to leave. Even if you leave, they will still track you down if you don't finish what they want you to do. I need someone from my side in your company. I think you are very suitable for this role. Of course, I will also ensure the safety of your family. Your brother will also receive a good education. What do you think about this deal?" "Really? Thank you, young Master Quebec. But how do I explain this to Manager Lee?" Michelle asked. Dwanmu K thought for a moment. Then, he took Michelle's phone and threw it to the ground. The phone broke into pieces. Dwanmu K picked up the phone and handed it to Michelle. "Go back and tell Manager Lee that you threatened me with those photos and asked me to take responsibility. I got angry and smashed your phone. Then, tell him that I don't want to admit my relationship with you." Dwanmu K took out a stack of money from his wallet and handed it to Michelle. "This is the compensation for your phone. Go and buy a new one. I have one more question. Do you really not know the woman who went to find Manager Lee and you?" Dwanmu K asked. "I really don't know her. She's definitely not someone from our company. Also, from the way she dresses, I can tell that she's rich. But she's very small, and I can't see her face, so I can't describe her well." Listening to her description, I was a little confused. "All right, I got it. Michelle, you can leave now. Remember to do as I say. If you continue to backstab me, I won't be able to guarantee your family's safety either. I hope you remember this." Dwanmu K's method of threatening people was indeed effective. Michelle readily agreed and left. After Michelle left, I walked out of the bedroom and sat on the sofa, deep in thought. Duanmu-ke walked to my side and put his arm around my shoulder. "Wifey, what's wrong?" he asked. "You look so serious." I shook my head and ignored him. "See, I told you. Nothing must have happened." Duanmu-ke looked at me with a face full of confidence. "This is confirmed, but there are still a lot of questions. Who is that woman? She was the one who controlled everything from the beginning. Why did she do that? Did Manager Lee know or not? There are a lot of questions that need to be answered." I leaned on his shoulder, my brows furrowed. Duanmu-ke said, "It's not hard for me to guess that there's a thin and small person who likes black, but I can't guarantee that it's her. Although she's always done some wrong things in the past, at least it wouldn't affect the company's interests. But now, this problem has already implicated the company's profits, so I'm also doubting whether it's her." I looked at Duanmu-ke and said, "I'm thinking the same thing as you. I think we're both suspecting the same person. If it really is her, then I don't understand. She should be targeting me. Why is she targeting you now?" Duanmu-ke held my face and said, "Silly wifey, you're guessing that it's UXin, right?" Chapter 55. I looked at Duanmu-ke and nodded. "That's right, I guessed it was her. But there's one thing I don't understand. How could she have guessed that I would come to you at that time? Silly wife, don't you understand? Uxian arranged for Michelle to get close to me. She didn't want you to see what was going on between us. She arranged for Michelle to take some indecent photos of us and then use them to drive a wedge between you and me. You just showed up at the wrong time and exposed her, silly wife." Duanmu-ke gently pinched my nose. I thought about it carefully. Duanmu-ke was right. I wrapped my arms around Duanmu-ke's neck. "So, what should we do next?" "Let's wait and see." Duanmu-ke then carried me in his arms and walked to the bedroom. "What are you doing?" I was afraid that he would drop me, so I could only hug his neck tightly. Duanmu-ke looked at me with a lewd smile. "I'm tired. Lie down with me for a while longer. Stop fooling around. Look at the time. Let's pack up and go home. Mom and Dad are waiting for us." Duanmu-ke didn't pay attention to me. He put me on the bed and quickly stripped me again. I looked at him helplessly, but it was no use. Duanmu-ke looked at me and said, "It's rare for the two of you to spend time together. You have to cherish it. Just now, you said that you wanted to give me a baby. You have to work harder, right? You have to cherish your precious time." I couldn't help it. I was completely defeated by Duanmu-ke's logic. Looking into his gentle eyes, I had no choice but to agree. I lay under him and felt his gentleness. Because I loved him, I could feel that everything he brought to me was beautiful. At this moment, I only had one thought. I wanted to be with him forever. Perhaps it was because we had been tossing and turning for too long. Duanmu-ke fell asleep in my arms after he finished venting. I also fell asleep while hugging him. When we woke up, it was already evening. We packed our luggage and headed back to Duanmu's house. Xiao Fangya had already prepared a table full of sumptuous dishes for us. After everyone was seated, Xiao Fangya served me a bowl of pig trotter soup. "Xiao Li, welcome home," she said. "You've just recovered and your body is still weak. I asked the chef to make this for you." "Thank you, Mom." I took the bowl Xiao Fangya handed to me, tasted it and said, "Mom, this is delicious. As long as it tastes good." Xiao Fangya looked at me and smiled. Duanmu-ke looked at me and then at the soup I was drinking. He held the bowl in front of Xiao Fangya and pretended to act cute. "Mom, I want some too," he said. Duanmu Tochio reached out and patted Duanmu-ke's hand. "Do it yourself. You're an adult." Looking at Duanmu-ke's aggrieved expression, I couldn't help but laugh. Duanmu-ke pursed his lips and said unhappily, "It's so unfair. I'm obviously the biological one. This isn't fair. I want to protest." He raised his hand as if he was really going to protest. I pulled back Duanmu-K's outstretched hand. Protest overruled. Hurry up and eat. I reached out and picked up Duanmu-K's bowl and served him a bowl of soup. Duanmu-K looked at Xiao Fangya and Duanmu-Tachio with an arrogant expression. See? My wife cares about me. Looking at Duanmu-K's silly expression, Duanmu-Tachio and Xiao Fangya both laughed. Everyone at the table was talking and laughing. Only Yuxian sat there and ate. When everyone was almost done eating, Duanmu-Tachio and Xiao Fangya looked at each other. They took out a bank card from their pockets and put it in front of me. I looked at the bank card and then at Duanmu-Tachio. Dad, what's this for? Xiaoli, don't think too much. Ever since you got pregnant, so many things have happened. Your mother and I feel sorry for you. We feel that we didn't take good care of you. This is a small token of our appreciation. Just accept it. If you like something, just buy it. Don't be stingy. After listening to Duanmu-Tachio's words, I looked at Duanmu-Quebec. At this moment, Yuxian suddenly stood up. I'm done eating. I have something to do. I'll take my leave first. Then she went upstairs. Obviously, she wasn't happy. I looked at Duanmu-Tachio and said, Dad, I can't accept this. We don't lack money. You and Mom should use this money to buy something. I pushed the card back to Duanmu-Tachio. Duanmu-K put the card in his pocket and said to Duanmu-Tachio and Xiao Fangya, Thank you, Dad. Thank you, Mom. I'll accept it on behalf of Xiao Li. We'll take our leave now. Before I could finish, Duanmu-K dragged me back to the room. After entering the room, he put the card in my bag and lay down on the bed. I looked at his lazy appearance and said, Why do you want Dad's money? It's not like we don't have it. Since it's for you, just accept it. Duanmu-K rolled over and lay on the bed. What's going on? I sat down next to him and looked at him. Actually, it's nothing. Didn't you go back home after you were discharged? My parents felt that they had wronged you. My mother cried almost every day and kept saying that it was because of her negligence that you were injured again and again. Later, I told them that you would come back when you recovered. They were very happy. You can just treat it as a gift from them. That's not very good. I was still a bit worried. What's not good about it? Just listen to me. If you don't accept it, they'll really feel bad about it. Duanmu-K rolled over and lay down on my lap. At that moment, Xiao Fengya's voice came from outside the door. Xin, it's so late. Why are you still going out? It sounded like she wanted to go out. Auntie, I'm not going out. There's someone at the door looking for me. I'll go take a look and then come back. I heard Yuxian's voice. Okay. Come back soon. Then, there was the sound of footsteps. Hearing the footsteps, Duanmu-K rolled over and jumped off the bed. He ran to the window and hid behind the curtains. He gently lifted the curtains a bit. I followed him to the window. Through the gap in the curtains, I saw Yuxian jogging toward the door. Duanmu-K looked at me and said, Wife, do you want to see who she's meeting with and what they're talking about? I looked at him and nodded. Duanmu-K moved his face closer. I looked at him blankly. He pointed to his lips and said, Kiss me and I'll take you there. I looked at him with a black face. What time is it? You're still joking. If you don't kiss her, she'll come back. Duanmu-K made a threatening face at me. I had no choice but to move closer and kiss his lips. Chapter 56. Duanmu-K pulled me downstairs and walked around the kitchen. We walked out from the kitchen side door and went straight to the garden. The two of us walked along the wall, trying to keep our footsteps as light as possible. Behind a tree closest to the main door, the two of us squatted down. Duanmu-K was afraid that I would catch a cold, so he put a black coat on us. Then he whispered to me, Be careful not to expose your position. I gestured for him not to speak and listened carefully for any movements outside the wall. It seemed that Uxian hadn't gone far. She was on the other side of the wall. I heard Uxian say, "What is it that you have to talk to me face to face? What can't you say over the phone?" "I don't want to either. It's about Duanmu, Quebec," a man's voice. Duanmu K whispered into my ear, "This is Director Lee who called me." I nodded. "Duanmu, Gidge? What is it about Duanmu, Gidge?" Uxian asked. Miss you, don't play dumb. Didn't you want me to send someone to get Duanmu K drunk, then take indecent photos and send them to you?" The man's voice was filled with helplessness. "And then?" Uxian asked in a lukewarm tone. "That girl didn't succeed, but she told me that Duanmu K had sex with her. When she went back to find Duanmu K, he wouldn't admit it. What do you think should be done?" Hearing this, it seemed that Duanmu K's instructions had been conveyed. "What? You actually let her go onto Duanmu Gidge's bed? What right does she have?" It was clear that Uxian was angry. "Eldest miss, don't talk about this anymore. Back then, you were the one who told me that as long as I did as you said, I would be able to increase our company's profits by 25%. That was why I agreed to it. Now that something like this has happened, if Duanmu K is serious about it, you will also be responsible. That wasn't my intention at all. I just wanted a few photos, but you decided on your own and let that woman seduce Duanmu, Gidge. Forget it, it's already come to this point, there's no point in saying this." "Then what should we do next?" "You do this. For a week, you keep that woman under control. Next week, when everyone is at home, you let that woman come here and cause trouble. The main reason is to make Duanmu K take responsibility for her. When Duanmu Tachio and the others show up, you guys come out and use the woman's name as the company's leader to get Duanmu Tachio to give you more profits. I'll take care of the rest." As soon as I heard Uxian say this, Duanmu K pulled my arm, hinting me to go back. I shook my head, telling him to stay and listen. He also shook his head, indicating that he had to go. There was no other way. I followed his decision and went back to my room. Just as I entered my room, I didn't even have time to rest before Duanmu K walked to my side and began to take off my clothes. I shouted at him, "What are you doing? It's too late. Take off your clothes and change into your pajamas." After he said that, he took off his coat and changed into his pajamas. It was obvious that I was an obedient wife. I also changed into my pajamas obediently. Duanmu K stuffed our changed clothes into the wardrobe. Duanmu K turned on the TV in the bedroom. He laid on the bed and fiddled with the remote control. Since I had been outside in the garden for a while, my hands were a little dirty. I went to the bathroom to wash them. As soon as I finished, there was a knock on the door. "Coming. Coming." Duanmu K got off the bed and ran to the door to open it. I walked to his side and saw Uxian standing at the door with a plate of fruit. "Duanmu, Gidge, I just washed the fruit. I brought it to you," Uxian said to Duanmu, Quebec. She didn't look at Duanmu, Quebec. Instead, she scanned the two of us from top to bottom. Then, she stretched her neck to look inside the room. "Thank you." Uxian, what are you looking at?" Duanmu K took the fruit and asked. Nothing. I'm going back. Bye." Then, Uxian turned around and walked back to her room. It wasn't until Uxian closed the door that Duanmu K pulled me inside. He locked the door and put the plate of fruit on the table. Then, he sat on the bed and gasped for breath. "What's wrong? Are you not feeling well?" I worriedly looked at him and touched his face. "Wifey, I'm fine. I just didn't expect her anti-detection ability to be so strong." Duanmu K laid on the pillow and looked at the ceiling. "What's going on?" I looked at him with a puzzled expression. I can guarantee you that before Uxian came back, she walked around the garden. She smelled like roses. She went to the garden to see if we were there. If she wanted to leave after eavesdropping on them, she would have run into them and it would have been too late. "I understand," So when you came back, you asked me to change clothes and pretend to watch TV. It was to mislead her and make her think that we were in the bedroom the whole time. Is that what you meant? That's right, that's what I meant. I guessed that she would come to look for us, but I didn't expect that she would actually take a stroll around the garden. Looks like I underestimated her too much in the past. Look at the things she said. I really couldn't imagine that she was actually such a ruthless person. Duanmu K held his forehead as he lay there, looking especially distressed. What are we going to do next? Expose her? I asked as I lay down next to him. No, we can't expose her. I want to continue acting with her. Of course, I want to be the main character and not let her control me. Duanmu K hugged me and said, Wifey, I want to apologize to you. Huh? Apologize for what? I asked in confusion as I lay in his embrace. Actually, I used to suspect that you were hostile towards Uxin, and even wanted to protect her. But as time passed, I slowly realized that she was getting worse and worse. Not only did she harm her friends, but she also harmed you. Now, in order to achieve her goals, she won't even let her family off. Well, maybe she doesn't even see us as family. There were so many people in Kurosawa, but he didn't order them. My father carried her to the hospital and left my mother to take care of me. She was given everything. She ate well, wore good clothes, used good things. She received the best education since she was young. She and I both went to an aristocratic school. With her qualifications, she wouldn't have been able to get in. But now, if my parents knew that she had become like this, their hearts would ache. Duanmu K said angrily. Okay. Don't be angry. It's all in the past. I patted Duanmu K's back and softly comforted him. Chapter 57. Ever since that night, I rarely saw Uxin. Every day, she would leave early and return late, so I didn't pay too much attention to her. Now, in my heart, I only cared about the Duanmu family and Duanmu Quebec. This week was like the calm before the storm. Thinking about what Uxin had said, I guessed that her plan would come to fruition soon. These days, Duanmu K was also very busy. Aside from the company's matters, he was also secretly arranging how to deal with Uxin. During this time, Duanmu K looked for Michelle once and told her something. As for what he told her, he didn't tell me. However, I believed that Duanmu K had his own plans, and I respected his arrangements. On the morning of the weekend, I woke up early and ran to the garden to trim the flowers in the rose pond. As usual, Uxin left early and returned late, so I didn't see her at all. Duanmu Tachio brought Duanmu K back to Kurosawa for a meeting early in the morning. The Kurosawa was going to hold its 10th anniversary celebration next month, and the entire Kurosawa was busy with it. Xiao Fangya went shopping with the other wives she was close with, so I was the only one left in the huge Duanmu house. I stood by the rose pond, looking at the flower pond that Duanmu K had meticulously built for me. My mood was very good. Just as I was concentrating on trimming the flowers, the door was pushed open, and a young, tall, and fashionably dressed girl walked in. She was pulling a suitcase in her hand. When she walked to the middle of the courtyard, she stopped and shouted, "Someone! I'm so tired." I glanced at her and didn't answer. At this time, the girl saw me standing in the middle of the garden and walked towards me. She stopped in front of me and scanned me from head to toe. Then she put the suitcase in front of me and said, "Who are you?" I don't care anymore. Help me bring my luggage in. By the way, is Gij Duanmu here? I looked at her and didn't say anything. The girl looked at me again and said, "Why don't you say anything?" "Forget it, I'll go look for it myself." "They're not here." I kept my head down, pruning the flowers, not looking at her. Why aren't they here? Where are they? I want to find Duanmu Gij. With that, the girl pulled her suitcase towards the door. Listening to her call me Brother Duanmu, I was in a bad mood. I asked her, "Who are you?" I said they're not here. You think I'm not here just because you say so? And who are you? The girl put down her luggage and stood in front of me. I ignored her and turned back to the room. Suddenly she grabbed me from behind and said, "Don't go. Make yourself clear." Just then, Duanmu K appeared in front of us and said, "What are you doing? Xinyao, how come you're here?" "Ah, Duanmu Gij." When the girl saw Duanmu K, she ran over and threw herself into Duanmu K's arms. Duanmu K hugged the girl and spun her around twice. I stood next to them with a dark expression on my face. I frowned and didn't know what to do. Looking at the two of them being so lovey-dovey, I couldn't stand it anymore. I walked over to Duanmu K and patted his shoulder. "Xiao K, shouldn't you introduce us?" I glared at Duanmu Quebec. Duanmu K looked at me, then turned around and hugged me from behind. He gently kissed me on the cheek, then looked at the girl and said, "Little Xinyao, let me introduce you. This is Cold Glaze. From now on, you should call her sister-in-law." Then Duanmu K leaned close to my ear and said, "Wife, this is my little sister, Duanmu Xinyao. How come I've never seen her before?" I looked at Duanmu K in disbelief. "Ah, so it's sister-in-law." Duanmu Xinyao suddenly threw herself at me and hugged me tightly. Sister-in-law, sister-in-law, I'm little Xinyao." I couldn't get rid of Duanmu Xinyao, who was clinging to me. I looked helplessly at Duanmu K, pleading for his help. Duanmu K looked at me and said, "My little sister has been living abroad since she was young. She's been very independent since she was a child. Because she likes freedom, she's always been unfettered. She doesn't need to take care of the Kurosawa's affairs. She can do whatever she wants. Now, she's a fashion designer for a top fashion brand. She's quite famous." Sister-in-law, sister-in-law, brother, sister-in-law is so beautiful. I like it. Duanmu Xinyao hugged me tightly, not wanting to let go. All right, hurry up and let go of your sister-in-law. I'm jealous." Duanmu K glanced at her as he spoke. "All right." Duanmu Xinyao reluctantly let go of my arm. Then, she grabbed my arm and looked back at Duanmu Quebec. "Brother, help me carry my luggage." Then, she pulled me back to the living room. The three of us sat on the sofa in the living room. Duanmu Xinyao leaned on my shoulder, looking at Duanmu K with a mocking expression. Duanmu K glared at her, then sat down next to me and leaned on my other shoulder. I looked at them helplessly. I suddenly felt like I was taking care of two children. "Oh yeah, Xinyao, why did you come back?" Duanmu K found a topic to talk about, moving Duanmu Xinyao's hand away from me. "Brother, I came back because I missed Mom, Dad, and you. Don't reject me, okay? I'm so obedient." Duanmu Xinyao moved Duanmu K's hand away and took the opportunity to hug me. I leaned my head against her soft chest, blushing. It was very awkward. Duanmu K suddenly grabbed my arm and pulled me out of Xinyao's embrace. I lost my balance and fell into Duanmu K's arms. Listening to his heartbeat, Duanmu K's arms were indeed more comfortable. Duanmu Xinyao looked at Duanmu K hugging me. She angrily put her hands on her waist and shouted, "Brother, you're so naughty." While we were fooling around, Uxin pushed open the door and walked into the living room. She looked at us, but didn't say anything. She walked around the sofa and prepared to go upstairs. Duanmu Xinyao saw Uxin and suddenly stood up from the sofa. She looked at Uxin and said, "Hey, can't you see us?" Uxin stood there and didn't turn her head to look at us. She also didn't say anything. Duanmu Xinyao saw that she didn't respond and became angry. She walked over to Uxin and stood in front of her. She scanned her from head to toe and said, "We haven't seen each other for a long time, and you're still as indifferent as ever. You're still as low as ever." Duanmu Xinyao glared at Uxin. Uxin looked at her and said, "Xinyao, you're back. Long time no see." "Xinyao? Who are you to call Xinyao by that name? Is it because I'm not here for so long that you've forgotten who you are?" Xinyao stared at Uxin arrogantly, her eyes filled with dissatisfaction. Chapter 58. Yuxian stood in front of the Duanmu Xinyao and clenched her fists. She looked at her without saying a word, and Xinyao didn't have any intention of backing down. She stood in front of Yuxian with her hands on her waist and said to Yuxian, "Brother, why is this woman still in our house? I don't like her at all. I've never liked her since I was little." Yuxian glanced at the Duanmu Kei and then looked at me. Then she said to the Duanmu Xinyao, "Miss Duanmu, I'm going back first." After she said that, Yuxian walked upstairs. "Stop right there. You're not allowed to leave." The Duanmu Xinyao roared at Yuxian. Yuxian didn't turn around. The Duanmu Xinyao chased after her and suddenly grabbed Yuxian's hand. Yuxian lost her balance and fell down the stairs. She laid on the ground. Xinyao didn't expect her to fall and was shocked. She stood there blankly. The Duanmu Kei and I quickly walked over. I first looked at Xinyao. She stood there in a panic and didn't know what to do. I had the Duanmu Kei look after Xinyao first, and then I walked over to Yuxian. Because of inertia, she fell down the stairs. Her arms, knees, and ankles all had different degrees of abrasions. I didn't know why, but when I saw her fall, I thought back to the time when I fell down the stairs. My heart ached. I originally wanted to reach out to help Yuxian up, but seeing her fall, I still decided to help her up first. As soon as my outstretched hand touched Yuxian, she suddenly pushed me away. I lost my balance and sat on the ground. The Duanmu Kei saw me fall and immediately ran to my side to help me up. He said to me, "Wife, are you okay?" Then he looked at Yuxian, who was still lying on the ground, and asked, "What are you doing? Shaoli was kind enough to help you up, but you actually pushed her?" Yuxian looked at the Duanmu Kei and didn't answer. At this time, the Duanmu Xinyao got angry. She walked in front of Yuxian, grabbed Yuxian's collar and said, "Yuxian, is it because Mom and Dad are too good to you, so you can treat us even worse? You dare to push my sister-in-law? Are you tired of living?" Yuxian tried to shake off her hand and retorted, "Let go of me, hurry up and let go of me. I just want to go upstairs." Yuxian grabbed the Duanmu Xinyao's hand. Her nails were too long, and when she struggled, she scratched Xinyao's hand. "Ah!" Xinyao screamed. When she saw that her hand was scratched, she became even more angry. She sat on top of Yuxian and grabbed Yuxian's collar with one hand. "You bad woman!" She used her other hand to slap Yuxian's face. Only to hear a "pa" sound, Xinyao's slap directly slapped Yuxian to the ground. It seemed that Xinyao's slap was fierce. The corner of Yuxian's mouth was broken. She forced herself to sit up and covered her swollen face with her hand. She didn't say anything and just sat on the ground with her head lowered. Xinyao saw that Yuxian didn't respond and reached out to hit her again. I hurriedly asked the Duanmu Kei to stop her. The Duanmu Kei rushed in front of Xinyao and carried her back. Xinyao waved her fist and said, "Let go of me, I'm going to hit her." "She didn't listen to me, bad woman. Let go of me." The Duanmu Kei brought Xinyao into the study. I glanced at Yuxian, who was sitting on the ground, and reached out to help her up. This time, she didn't shake me off. After she stood up, she covered her face and didn't say anything. She just stood there with her head lowered. I rummaged through the medical box and found an alcohol cotton ball. I handed it to Yuxian. She looked at me and didn't reach out to take it. I understood her concern and said, "You don't want me to wipe the alcohol cotton ball for you, do you?" Yuxian glanced at me and took the alcohol cotton ball. Then, she turned around and went upstairs. I looked at her back and shook my head helplessly. At this time, I remembered that the angry Xinyao had been brought into the study by the Duanmu Quebec. It seemed that I had to go and comfort this little girl. I pushed open the door to the study. Xinyao was still sitting on the sofa, throwing a tantrum. Duanmu Kei was sitting next to her, shaking his head helplessly. When I pushed open the door, both of them saw me at the same time and ran over to me. But the Duanmu Kei was a step faster. He hugged me tightly in his arms and said, "Wifey, you have to save me. I can't take it anymore." I've always been afraid of Xinyao throwing a tantrum. When she throws a tantrum, she takes it out on me. You see, she bit me just now when I was trying to stop her." The Duanmu Ke stretched out his arm, and sure enough, there was a deep red bite mark on it. Before I could comfort him, Xinyao came in front of us. Seeing that the Duanmu Ke wasn't letting go of me, she stomped on his foot. The Duanmu Ke was in so much pain that he hugged his foot and jumped around the room. Seeing that the Duanmu Ke had let go of me, Xinyao took the opportunity to lie in my arms. With an aggrieved expression, she rubbed against my chest. As she rubbed against my chest, she cried and said, "Sis-in-law Xiao Li, I hate her. She bullies Bao Bao. Bao Bao is not happy." I had no choice but to hug her and pat her back. "Be good. It's okay. It's okay. Don't cry, don't cry." Xinyao was still lying in my arms, rubbing against my chest. My face flushed red. As she rubbed against my chest, she said, Sis-in-law's chest is so soft." Hearing this, the Duanmu Ke walked over to Xinyao. He grabbed Xinyao's arms and forcefully pulled her off of me. He said, Little Xinyao, you pervert. You won't even let your sister-in-law off. She's mine. You're a bad person. Gidge, you're the bad one. Sis-in-law Xiao Li is mine. Mine. Xinyao struggled with all her might. The two siblings were making a ruckus in the study room. Looking at the two of them playing like children, she felt both angry and amused. After watching them fight for a while, they seemed to be tired. They sat down on the sofa and gasped for breath. I sat across from them and looked at Xinyao. Xinyao, don't be angry. Tell your sister-in-law, why do you hate her so much? Xinyao sat up from the sofa and looked at me. Sis-in-law Xiao Li, that woman is really bad. I really don't like her. When she first came to our house, I didn't like her. I thought that I was the only girl in the Duanmu family, but Mom and Dad told me that this girl was very pitiful and that I should get along well with her. At this time, the Duanmu Ke walked to my side and hugged me from behind. This little sister of mine thinks that you Xian stole Mom and Dad and stole me. She's been hostile to her since she was a child. Ever since you Xian came to our house, whenever my parents bought something for Xinyao, they would buy an extra set for you Xian. My little sister is very unhappy. Then how can I be happy? I don't want to use the same things as her. Duanmu Xinyao pursed her lips and said unhappily. Chapter 59. What's going on? I looked at Xinyao and asked. It's like this. Xian Yao told me about her dispute with you Xian. You Xian and I are about the same age. When she first came to my house, she was too shabby, so my mother picked out all the clothes I didn't want to wear and gave them to you Xian. At first, I didn't object. After all, they were all old clothes, and I didn't think much of it. It wasn't until the incident on my birthday that I realized that she was a thief. A thief? Where did that come from? I looked at Xian Yao, puzzled. Xian Yao sighed and said, It happened on my 10th birthday. My father specially arranged a birthday party for me. That morning, my mother prepared a small dress for me to wear at the party. I really liked it because it was specially made for me. I didn't want to wear it, so I planned to wear it at the party that night. So I put the dress on my bed and went out to play. But when I got tired and came back, I saw you Xian wearing my dress and looking at herself in the mirror in my room. I was very angry, so I rushed in and asked her to take off the dress. She kept struggling, and when we were tearing, the dress was torn. I cried because I really liked that dress. Later, when my parents arrived and saw the situation, they didn't scold her. They just told her to go back to her room. I felt that it was very unfair. She was an outsider, but my parents still helped her. I felt very uncomfortable. From then on, my impression of her became worse and worse. I can testify to that. Because of the dress-snatching incident, my sister casually wore a dress that day. She was in a bad mood the whole time, and it left a deep shadow in her heart. Duanmu-ke hugged me and nodded. Anyway, I really hate her. At that time, the three of us were in the same high school. At that time, there were a lot of girls who chased after my brother. Uxian treated them like enemies. She offended a lot of people at that time. Actually, I knew that Uxian liked my brother. In other people's eyes, I didn't know, but in my eyes, I felt that her love was a bit perverted. After listening to Xian Yao's evaluation of Uxian, I felt that it was very reasonable. I turned to Duanmu-ke and said, Xian Yao is very smart. Do you want to tell Xian Yao everything that Uxian has done and what she wants to do? Duanmu-ke nodded. The two of us told Duanmu everything that Uxian did to me ever since I married into the Duanmu-ke family, until I had a miscarriage, and everything that happened that night when Duanmu-ke and I eavesdropped on Uxian's scheme to Xian Yao. After Xian Yao heard everything, she slammed the coffee table and said, Too much. How can this woman be so bad? It seems like I was too light on her just now. Too hateful. Brother. Does Mom and Dad know? Duanmu-ke shook his head and said, I didn't tell Mom and Dad about this. I don't think it's necessary. I alone am enough to deal with her. I should have insisted on opposing Mom and Dad taking her in. I'm so angry. Why didn't I kick her out at that time? Xian Yao was so angry that her face turned red. She sat on the sofa and pouted. Okay, don't think about her. Xian Yao, are you hungry? I'll get you something to eat. I casually changed the topic. Sister-in-law is the best. I'm not hungry at all. I just want to chat with you and brother. I've been away from home for so long. I haven't felt the warmth of home in a long time. Xian Yao's face was no longer tense. She smiled and looked at me. Then why did you leave your parents to live on your own? I liked this lively and cheerful girl from the bottom of my heart. I liked her carefreeness and her cuteness. Xin Yao sighed and said, Originally, I could have stayed at home, but I yearned for a free and unrestrained life. Moreover, there are people I hate here, so I chose to leave. My parents also know my character, so they didn't stop me. Occasionally, I would come back to see them, and they would feel happy. I stood up and walked in front of Xian Yao. I held her hand and said, Xian Yao, since you're back, don't leave. Stay with us, okay? Xian Yao threw herself into my arms and softly said, Okay, sister-in-law. I knew sister-in-law was the best. You're much better than my bad brother. Every time I come back, he doesn't try to keep me. Xin Yao grumbled as she rubbed against my chest. I didn't know why, but this little girl liked to rub against my chest. When Duanmu-ke saw that Xian Yao was starting to make a move on me, he curled his lips and hugged Xian Yao from behind. He pulled her back and said, Let go. She's mine, you pervert. Let go. Xian Yao turned around and stomped on Duanmu-ke. Then she made a face at Duanmu-ke and said, You can't catch me, right? Piss you off. I'm running. After saying that, Xian Yao ran out of the study. Duanmu-ke covered his foot and looked at Xian Yao, who was running away. He said with a helpless expression, Stop right there. When I catch you, you'll be crippled. After saying that, he also ran out of the study. The two of them played around in the house. Standing at the door of the study, I saw that Uxian's bedroom door was half open. She stood at the door and stared blankly at Duanmu-ke's location. Looking at her worried expression, it seems that her love for Duanmu-ke has never changed. But when I thought about how she had done so many things to harm others for her own goals, my heart felt very uncomfortable. Uxian seemed to notice me looking at her. She looked at me, then returned to her room and closed the door. Duanmu-ke pulled Xian Yao in front of me and said with a flaunting expression, Wife, look, I caught the pervert who took advantage of you. Tell me, how do you want to deal with her? Sister-in-law, don't believe what he said. My Gij is a bad guy. He's a big bad guy. Xian Yao struggled with all her strength, her face red. I looked at the two of them and leaned against the door, looking at them with a smile on their faces. Wife, what are you thinking? Hurry up, I can't control her anymore. Duanmu-Ke looked at me helplessly. I thought for a while, then walked to Duanmu-Ke's side. I held his hand that was holding Xian Yao and grabbed it. Then I hugged his neck and kissed him deeply. Duanmu-Ke was stunned and stood there, not knowing what to do. Xin Yao also blankly stood at the side, stunned by my actions. I let go of Duanmu-Ke's hand and waved at Xian Yao, indicating for her to leave. She immediately understood my meaning and made a face at Duanmu-Ke and said, "Gij, I told you that sister-in-law is on my side. I'm leaving, you and sister-in-law have a good time." Then she skipped upstairs. Duanmu-Ke wanted to break free from me, but it seemed that I couldn't control him anymore. Helpless, I had to use my trump card. I looked at him with a bashful expression and said, "Husband, let's go back to the room." Chapter 60. Ever since Xin Yao had returned, the atmosphere at home had become even warmer. Every day, I could see her happy face, and I could also see her and Duanmu-Ke fooling around. That night, I overheard Xian's plan, but she didn't carry it out. Later, Duanmu-Ke told me that because of Xin Yao's appearance, Xian had temporarily postponed her plan with Director Li. In the blink of an eye, it was time for Kurosawa's 10th anniversary celebration. During this time, everyone was busy preparing for it. Ever since I had returned to Duanmu's home, Duanmu Tachio had assigned me to take care of some matters in Kurosawa. Before the celebration of the 10th anniversary of the Black Nightmare Society, we left early and returned late. Most of our time was spent in meetings, discussing every day how to make the celebration a success. Our life of leaving early and returning late had exhausted us both mentally and physically. The 10th anniversary celebration of Kurosawa was held in the Black Nightmare Guild Hall. That day, all the Kurosawa people were present. My parents also attended the celebration as guests. On that day, Xian, Xin Yao, Duanmu-Ke, and I arrived early to receive the guests. Since the celebration started at 5 in the afternoon, there weren't many people present. Xin Yao and I strolled around the venue. In the crowd, I saw Han Hao's figure. I hadn't seen him for a long time, but he still looked the same as before. He hadn't changed at all. Xin Yao also saw Han Hao. She ran to Han Hao's side and greeted him. The two of them chatted and laughed. I stood in place and watched them. I didn't know what Xin Yao said to him, but Han Hao looked in the direction of Xin Yao's finger and saw me. I had no choice but to walk in front of them. "Han Hao, long time no see." I waved at Han Hao. "So you know each other. That's great. Then I don't need to introduce you." Xin Yao wrapped her arm around Han Hao's and leaned on his shoulder. Han Hao looked at me and smiled. "Xiao Li, long time no see." We looked at each other without saying a word. His gaze was still as gentle as ever. "Han Hao, Gij, do you need help with anything? Sister-in-law and I don't have anything to do, so we can go with you." Xin Yao looked at Han Hao and said sweetly. Han Hao glanced at his watch, then turned to Xin Yao. "Little Xin Yao, I have a meeting right now, so I can't accompany you. I'll find you after the meeting, okay?" It had been a long time since I'd heard Han Hao's gentle voice. I didn't know why, but my heart suddenly trembled. "Okay, then we'll wait for you to come back." Xin Yao reluctantly let go of Han Hao's arm. Han Hao walked to the door. As he walked past me, he glanced at me. My eyes met his, and an indescribable feeling welled up in my heart. Looking at Han Hao's back as he left, I could feel that he was very lonely. At this moment, Xin Yao wrapped her arm around mine and whispered into my ear, "Sister-in-law, what do you think of Han Hao?" Hearing Xin Yao's question, my face heated up. I didn't know how to answer, so I could only ask, "Why would you ask that?" Xin Yao looked at me and said shyly, "Sister-in-law, I'll tell you a secret. You can't tell anyone else." Okay, I promise you." I smiled and looked at her. "I like him." I looked at Xin Yao, her face was brimming with happiness. When I was young, I already liked him very much. He's different from my brother. Sometimes my brother's temper isn't good. Although he never throws a tantrum at me, but every time I see him scold his subordinates, I feel especially scared. But Han Hao is different. He's always very gentle to everyone. Even if his subordinates do something wrong, he won't get angry. I like to look at him. Even if I just silently accompany him, I still feel very happy. So Xin Yao liked Han Hao. Xin Yao was right. Han Hao was a very gentle boy, and he was very compatible with a lively and cute girl like Xin Yao. But I didn't know why, but when I heard Xin Yao say that, I felt very uncomfortable. Sister-in-law? Sister-in-law, what are you thinking about? Xin Yao shook my arm and asked. I'm not thinking about anything. If you like him, just confess to him. If you don't say it, how will he know that you like him? Am I right? I stroked Xin Yao's hair and said to her. Xin Yao covered her face in embarrassment and said, Actually, I've hinted to him before, but he's never answered me. I don't know what to do. Every time I leave home, I run away. I'm afraid that he won't answer me, and I'm also afraid that he'll reject me. Sister-in-law, what should I do? I looked at Xin Yao and comforted her. Be good, don't think too much. If you really like him, then you have to face the problem. Even if you're rejected, you've tried. You won't feel that it's a pity. Don't worry, your brother and I will support you. Okay, I know. When the celebration is over, I'll confess to him. Then I'll know that sister-in-law is the best. Xin Yao threw herself into my arms. Looking at her innocent face, the uncomfortable feeling in my heart slowly dissipated. Xin Yao and I felt that the hall was too boring, so we went to the door. Xin Yao told me that there was a good Western restaurant near the hall. We slacked off and went out to eat. As expected, the restaurant's environment was good. We ordered some food and sat there to chat. Xin Yao kept telling me about her and Han Hao's childhood. While we were happily chatting, we saw two people come in through the door. It was Yu Xian and another man. However, they didn't see us and went in the opposite direction. I signaled Xin Yao to be quiet. She also saw Yu Xian and the man. She curled her lips and said, She's really a slut. Even her taste in men is so bad. I furrowed my brows when I saw where they were sitting. The distance between us and them was a bit big. Although the Western restaurant was quiet, I couldn't hear what they were talking about. Xin Yao seemed to know what I wanted to do. She waved her hand and called the waiter over. Hello, could you please change my seat? I want to sit over there. Thank you. Xin Yao pointed at the seat behind Yu Xian and the man. I gave Xin Yao a thumbs up and pulled her to sit in the booth. It just so happened that the booth had a gauze curtain. After the meal was served, we put down the gauze curtain so that the people outside couldn't see us. While we were eating, we carefully listened to the conversation of the two people behind us. How's the preparation? Director Li. When we heard Yu Xian's voice, we realized that the man was Director Li. Xin Yao and I looked at each other and nodded. It seemed that Yu Xian and that man were going to talk about something very important. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.